official podcast of Grapple. I'm Benno.
I'm JP.
And I'm Matty.
Yeah, the three of us must be a WWE week as Matty's on. Going to be talking some Crown Jewel later. Got AEW, got a bit of a mix of things to talk about today, lads. But how are we? How's it going, Matt? First time on the main show in a little while. Become a fixture on the pre-shows, mate. We've just been in the pre-show chatting up JP's 5-1 best TV shows and best tag teams as well. But is the pre-show the A show now? That's your show now. You're like the host of that. That and Retro. That's what you.
Look at him. He's getting them in already. Your position as host will never be in threat. No, it'll never be under threat.
Sure, that's what the SmackDown 6 said, mate, back in the day. Don't worry about us, lads.
Making its way in AJP, you know.
Oh yeah.
No.
Millions. See what they're doing.
But just saying, JP's like threw a few random TV themes in there as well. JP as well, but the tag teams, like, yeah, I knew you'd have some of them in there, mate. Good choices.
Thank you. I mean, it was. I was listening. If you haven't heard it already, you really, if as much I would say for the TV themes at the beginning, which is an incredible piece of audio, as you two blankly look on, as Gareth mentions, all of these various kind of themes in there. So it's absolutely like brilliant stuff. But yeah, I've just tag team wrestling. Yeah. So if you want to hear like kind of, you know, my thoughts on it, you'll hear that in the pre-show. But I definitely would highly recommend obviously that show.
What are we? What's coming up this weekend on the Patreon, JP? We're doing our month one this month, and we're putting we're giving the power back to the patrons again, which was at didn't go well last time,
mate.
That's somebody said in the Discord that it was like when you did that daily update, or when we've done the update, it's like, you know, in the nice teacher, you finally, I think Liam said it, when you finally break the nice teacher who's usually the one who's the fun loving one, and then he had to watch WCW 2000, so he snapped on the kids. So hopefully we put them all in line now, mate, and the voting's going to be going well and giving us a fun choice for the weekend, or is it not? Where are we up to as far as what's going to be on a month one on Grapple Patreon this weekend?
I thought you always want to give people a second chance, don't you? And after being made to watch Halloween Havoc 2000, and then, which is a lot more fun to record about than to actually sit down and watch, we gave them the choice, as you mentioned. Completely terrifying. This is what we've got at the moment. I'm a little bit scared. Do you want to know what's leading? Do you want me to go in reverse order? I feel like, okay, I'll go reverse order. At the minute, currently, at number 5 is OVW. Joint third, Shotgun Saturday Night and ROH and HD Net.
Okay,
second
not my
place, ROH. Very much. It's adjacent. It's like a spin-off of a show you really like, Benno, but you just don't like the spin-off very much.
Non-canon, as Joe Mills said. It's not it's not proper Benno ROH. It doesn't count. It might as well be another company, ROH and HDNet. But it'd be a fun trip down memory lane. It'd be a fun science experiment. It's the type of ROH I could see Matty enjoying, like genuinely, like where it's like strictly TV formatted. They're trying to get the characters, quote unquote, over. It might be for you, Matt. If it wasn't,
sounds good.
It's possible.
Some of them have like Grizzly Redwood and stuff. The little bloke who thought he was a lumberjack. Was that, or did I dream that?
He's Cornet the Booker, Benno. Is Cornet booking this one?
Yeah, eventually, it's complicated, but yes, like during this period. Yeah. Him and Adam Pearce, basically, it goes back and forth a couple of times, but yeah.
Okay.
At number 2 is WCW Thunder, and number 1 at the minute is WWE CW.
I had a feeling that could win that, you know. Yeah, I think that's
CCW that.
Yeah, that'll walk it. That punk in it. That's what it is.
I think so, but we've got another. Again, we've only got ourselves to blame on this, don't we? Like I very squarely put the blame onto the patrons last time and took zero responsibility. This one, it feels like there's a complicity involved of like giving them the option for it. But that's what's there. If you do want to make a change to it, obviously go to patreon.com/grapple to get involved in the voting. And that's, for month 1.
There you go. Join in the votes there. It's going to be our show as this month continues. Neon Pink month, as we said. A lot of Heart Foundation chat in the tag team show, and we've got some other content where that's coming. Retro very soon, Matty, as we teased last week with Gareth coming soon. We got Sam Mulvaney's choice next week, and we're going to have a Survivor Series mixtape before the end of the month. I feel like we got some plugs very quick there. I feel unwarmed up here, Matt. Did we even talk about what we had for dinner on the pre-show tonight? I feel lost not knowing what you have for tea, mate. Tell me what you have for tea. Come on, put me in the mood.
I had a Benno special, you know. To be honest.
What does that mean? I'm scared.
I had 2 chicken char grills that you have.
Bird's eye. Did you pay the extra for bird's eye? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, come on, of course.
150 calories per.
They're always like, I never go for them because I don't believe, but they're always like, if nothing's like ready out the freezer to defrost, they're just a go-to. Do you know what I mean? So I had 2 of them with just with a bowl of veg, sprouts, collie, broccoli, and some garden peas with that. Nice. That's all they had, really, yeah.
Fair enough. Well, they shot you to know I had a ready meal, mate. I had a nice chow mein from M&S, though. Nice chow mein. See,
that's not a ready meal, then, mate. If it's some
yellow sticker, better or full price?
Well, full price. Like, see, this happened to me last week, right? I was telling someone yesterday. So this has turned into full pre-show now. And those who skip along, I'm sure they would have skipped along. But like, I got one last week and got it home and only realised 2 days after buying it, no date on it. What you do in that scenario? I was like,
Ben, I couldn't do it.
Take it back. It might have gone off today. It might go off yesterday. It might not go off for another week. I ate it on Friday, mate. So it's been I bought it on like a Monday. So don't know. We'll see.
You'll be fine.
I was saying to Steph, I come out of about a food poisoning, so I was like, I can't possibly make myself any sicker. So far, I've been okay. So I survived. But it's £4.50 in it. It's not like it's a £1 ready meal. I can't just let that go. Can't just put that in the bin.
Are they big like Benno?
It was all right. It's like nothing. It smell test.
Are they worth it like for £4.50? Big enough? Or like are they just tiny?
They're okay. They're a decent size, yeah. They're a good meal. Good food. Good quality food, I'd say.
It's M&S, mate. I always think that's the.
But it's like milk. What do you like with the milk? Yeah.
It's dark.
Are you strict on the milk? Is it have to be to the date or?
I get rid of the milk
situation, or how does that?
We have carton milk, so we have like the actual ones where you don't have to put them in the fridge if you don't want to, but obviously we do. But if I'm going for a proper like fresh milk and that, I mean, I get rid of it 2 days before the date, Benno. I just can't even like contemplate it. I'm that bad, like No,
this is why I go for oat milk. I can't deal with it. All milk smells off to me, so I can't have it.
Okay.
Gotta be careful with these things. Oat milk's the same though. They say it doesn't go off. It does after a while. Start to taste a bit cardboardy. You got to be careful, JP.
Yeah, if you get it wrong though with like proper milk, it's a grim experience. Particularly if you've just poured it in and it's just all the bits appearing. That's fucked.
JP.
There's no saving that. It's a dark place. Yeah, I'm old school. I go smell test and I go, it'll be fine in that as well. And then when I'm pissing out my arsehole at that point, then I'm playing it. So it's that stage. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I'm more boring tea than you guys as well. Jacket potato, cheese and beans.
Solid tea, solid. More of a lunch, JP, but it'll do for the tea.
I had a roast at lunch, mate.
You've done it around there.
Free though.
Yeah. You swapped it.
I'll argue with that.
I'm waiting for the net to close in at some point, but it's just like, nope, that'll do.
Warmed up now, Benno. Warmed up now.
There we go. So yeah, anyone if you want that type of content, patreon.com/grapple. That's usually how the free shows go. But I'll just throw it there. Vote for Shock on Saturday night. I'm very nostalgic. It's 1987, so of course I want that to win. But I've always Shock on Saturday night's always been that one where it's like the one that got away. Like even as a kid, you'd see photos of it in the magazines, or like on Raw, they'd show like a couple-minute clip of it, and it looked like it's in a nightclub, and it's like it's WWF, but it's adult and cool. And I've never actually seen it, so you'd be doing me a favor if you voted for that. Give me an excuse to go for it. But we've loaded it with good choices, so yeah, plenty of good ones out there. But yeah, on that note, we should get into the main show and the main stuff we're talking about today. And yeah, it's a Matty month, so we have got a bit of Crown Jewel. We are expecting some WWE, like I say, some WWE financials to drop in the next half hour or so. So we'll find out if the bottom is dropping out of the company or not. I'm guessing not, with the Saudis playing their many millions to UFC and to WWE at this point. But we'll see if there's any news. JP is going to be on it if anything breaks. But yeah. Saudi Arabia back at Crown Jewel, JP. Another one of those. We previewed it on the preview show. We're all just numb to it now, aren't we? It's all just like whatever. It's a wrestling show. You know, we'll just ignore the fact that Saudi Arabia literally sentenced someone to death this week for for tweets and for YouTube videos. Which, you know, if that was if they were the rules over here, I'd be fucked. There is that. There is also some very serious stuff going on around the border of Saudi as well. But yeah, in the face of that, you know, we got some Saudi. What were the WWE wrestlers on this week selling? Was it a Saudi car company or something like that? JP, there was all kinds of brand placement and crossover there. You know, it just never feels wrong. It's all fine. I mean, it was funny. It was on Saturday night, wasn't it? At the same time as that was on, and we were talking in the pre-show about the fucking shit show that was the Premier League this weekend, but like Newcastle were on the other channel as well, weren't they, playing? It was just like it was your sports watching derby going on Saturday night tea time for us.
Yeah, I didn't know what got more money spent on it by Saudi Arabia, WWE or the VAR officials for that game at St James's Park, because they were fucking disgraceful. Honestly, they really were. I noted, it was one of the things I noted on here, is that it's like the first ones where they just outright were just plugging Riyadh season, like going to Saudi Arabia, like everything else. It's completely like kind of normalized. And I think it's just because it's the sheer amount of sport that they've now bought into. I mean, spoke about it as well about in terms of like IPL and golf and other things like that, and obviously football with Newcastle United. These shows are like they just sort of, they are what they are. They exist. I think it was Brandon Thurston who mentioned they make 3 times what WrestleMania makes in tickets. And you imagine how much those tickets cost. Like they make by doing these shows. It's a ridiculous deal. Like 50 million a show. It's insane. And the crowd there, they fucking love it. They're like, they've managed to get that core audience. They've achieved the thing that they wanted to do. You know, and the crowd, and therefore they become kind of very much part of canon at this stage. So yeah, looking at it, it feels like these aren't going away anytime soon, and all we're going to see is more and more sports. And regardless of any sense of morality about it, that's just gone, because sport chases money, and if you like sport, that's it. That's like just the rules of the game, and whether or not you like it, it's just like they don't give a shit. It's not going to stop anytime soon.
Just looking here as we talk. On that note, do the business. Like all ties together. Chris Elliott saying here, coming from Post Wrestling, the TKO Group Holdings reported their quarter results. Revenue 449.1 billion. JP is where we are.
Million.
Million. Sorry, it could be billion. Million. I'll throw in there, but like, yeah, there's I'm just reading a few figures here as they come through live. Brandon Thurston's on the story as well. So yeah, 449.1 million in revenue. Apparently, obviously with WWE and UFC forming to become TK Group Holdings. So the revenue is 449.1 million. Net income of 22 million. Adjusted, it's like that WIBTA number of 239.7 million, which is essentially profit. Apparently they've ran through as well the 5-year new domestic agreement for SmackDown beginning on NBC Universal over in America as well. They will plug in WrestleMania 40, having sold more than 96,000 tickets in one day, which is something that will give Matty a nice smile. Some notes there about UFC's sponsorship. UFC extending its deal, which is relevant to this conversation, for their first event in Saudi Arabia in March next year. Brandon Thurston has broke down on Twitter. Apparently, from the Q3 revenue of 449.1 million, UFC makes up 397.5 million of that, and WWE it makes up 51.6 million. But if you go across the entire 3-month period, WWE generated 287.3 million, so it's not that much less than UFC if you combine the numbers there. But tells you what we're dealing with here, JP. A fucking monolith that's gonna take over the entire sports world. I know it's hard to immediately react to those numbers, JP, but any context you can give the listeners on that? Is it just rich people continue to make shitloads of money? Is that what we know?
Yeah, and they'll still make cuts. They'll still find ways of merging back office. It's never enough. There's never a point where they go, that's it, we're done. We've made enough money. We're just going to pay everyone really well from here on out. So they'll still play hardball when it comes to like contract negotiations and the rest of it for next year. But as a cash-making exercise, like, Jesus, between the pair of them, I mean, I know like UFC lost John Jones for like their main event in New York, but they're still going to sell out Madison Square Garden, and they're going to be doing it at like ridiculously high ticket prices. And I think this is the thing that they're going to end up doing. Like, you think about the WWE events coming up in the future as well, like the Optus Stadium in Perth for Elimination Chamber, which I would expect to sell out. Like, I'd expect them to do 60,000. It's going to be a big deal, and they'll be getting the site fees as well. So they're going to have a lot of this money on hand, but then there's always that thing where they've leveraged a lot of debt and everything else. And then it's going to be like whatever the TV deals happen as well. I know that there's apparently a breaking story, isn't it, according to PW Insider, regarding NXT and where that's going to be moving as well. I don't know if you want to get into that at this stage. Yeah, going to the CW, which we all thought was. Yeah, we all thought it was going to be the home of the NWA. Well, they pissed on their chips, haven't they? Straight away in there. So, yeah, they've got that in the golf, apparently, on the CW. It used to be country and western music, I'm sure, back in the day.
Yeah, I heard NXT and CW, and apparently, according to PW Insider, who I'm not bringing up on the big screen because I value my computer, via F4W, PW Insider have basically said the deal is very close to completed, expected to be 5 years on length. Apparently, it's a gigantic deal compared to what they were making anyway, because I think the assumption was it was, I think Brandon had done the crunching of the numbers, it was about a 50 million deal, wasn't it, for NXT on USA. So we expect this to be the most profitable deal that NXT has ever had, which isn't hard to do. But yeah, move them from USA on cable. So that's the other thing, broadcast TV. We were talking a bit about this on the weekend show, JP, for the Brits out there. Just basically, it's going from digital to, well, it's kind of still digital, but it's going from like cable to terrestrial. Yeah, essentially, bit like what happened with SmackDown, and we all thought SmackDown was going to start doing 5 or 6 million every Friday, and that didn't turn out to be true. But it was because Fox is available in lots more homes, because you don't have to have cable to watch it. It's just on the quote unquote version of regular TV they have out there. Basically, Freeview. Think of it like that. That's the best analogy I can give, JP.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like what we speak about in terms of UK. It's like it still requires like that kind of bigger cable TV, but it's free. It's not part of like premium packages. So it'd be like WWE being on Sky Sports, that's behind a paywall. Whereas TNA, when it was on Challenge TV, if you just had the box, you could effectively watch it. So like, it's a bigger deal for them. It's the fact that they're getting money for it, which is something that it's always lost money for them. It's always been designed as a loss leader. And here they are, if they're managing to get kind of like 50 million from it. If you think of the operational costs, because it's run from a place that they own as well, isn't it? So you don't have to kind of travel around. It's probably like studio wrestling, and it's live content in this era, which is kind of key. I think there's things, if the value for it is that, then you wonder, like, I know it's going to sound a bit ridiculous, but Tony Khan will be looking at Ring of Honor going, surely I can get something for this. There's some value that networks see in wrestling being available.
Well, that was the joke about NXT at the start, wasn't it? That it was like, it's not a real deal. It's just basically been, because Dynamite became a Wednesday show, it was like, fuck yous, then we're going to put it on TV. And they just took, because they were friendly with NBC, it was like, it's a bit like Collision, to be fair. That's kind of the story of Collision. It's a token gesture to get it on TV, and with the hope of, at some point, one day, we can make it its own thing, and we can make some money off it. And to be fair to them, this version of NXT wasn't the one I expected to be the profitable one, or the one that's got legs on it outside of the normal WWE rights deals. But they're making money on its own. It's justifying its existence, then, isn't it? It's always been the knock on NXT. Why does it exist if it's, you know, at a point when when we all loved it as much as we loved it, it was a smart mark favorite, and we really enjoyed the takeovers, but you know, were they really properly developing talent for the main roster? Well, the answer was no, because most of the time people would get to the main roster and they'd be the types of wrestlers Vince didn't like. This is now a much healthier ecosystem because it's you know, the company itself is running a lot smoother. Vince is out of creative. Vince is off, you know, connecting UFC with Saudi deals and stuff like that. But Triple H is on main roster creative. His best mate Shawn Michaels is basically running things down at NXT. So as you've seen with main roster, you know, over the last few weeks, Matty, you know, Dragon Lee turning up on there, the Creed's turning up on there, and it being a more smooth transition between the two. It's a much healthier, you know, ecosystem and a much healthier relationship between the two. And NXT now, despite us all laughing at it when NXT 2.0 started, and you know, laughing at even the early Shawn days, you know, when he was booking this, it's hollowed out its own space now to the point where, yeah, it could actually be profitable as its own brand and as a, you know, much more justified existence than it did even when it was, you know, in its pomp and was the old IWC favorite.
Yeah, as you said there, like people who go up from NXT now to the main roster are going to get well more of a chance than ever before. And as you say, they're just creating them for that. So, and it's worked both ways, as you say. They've lent obviously the main roster people down there to help get them over. So it's hand in hand.
Which is justified.
Well more.
If they're making more money from a TV deal on it, then yeah, that explains. It's a bit like, you know, Tony Khan does it in maybe a more backwards way, but like seems like this time of year, every year when he wants to you know, get ROH going again, or is trying to sell it to somebody. It's like, oh, should we make Chris Jericho the ROH champion? Oh, Young Bucks, you can have like he does it that way. Whereas, WWE obviously sending their main stars down to NXT and having those, you know, we joked about it on the pre-show those couple of weeks where it did beat AEW, you know, something we certainly didn't see coming, especially me. You know, last Christmas, it's worked in both directions, hasn't it, JP?
Yeah, it has, and it's. I mean, I'm not a fan of it. We've tried to watch it when they did the head-to-head. It's not something we've particularly enjoyed, but like you say, that there is that kind of smoother connection. Like when Carmelo Hayes comes up, it's going to be portrayed as a big deal, and you know that's going to be a big deal. And I think that's, you know, definitely for them. But it's also, I think that like from the business perspective for them, it's about how TKO as an entity kind of spreads its fingers going into all different types of pies across all of, they've got connections now with like so many of these kind of larger entities as well, and even Saudi Arabia, which has invested in the PFL, which is like, that would be like UFC's main rival because it's cash stable and is going to merge with Bellator as well. So, but they're not afraid to kind of get like the kind of deal in there. So they've spread it out there, and I think with NXT ultimately, if you're CW and everything I read about them, because I read little bits when it was like the NWA deal, I was like, well, what is this network like? And it seemed to be suffering. It seemed to be really suffering, not doing much at all. And this is like live programming they can hang their hat on and build it up as a kind of like of a big deal. Depends how, and I believe that this very competent version of WWE, which doesn't have this mad wild card into the mix, they'll find interesting ways of being able to do cross-promotion stuff on CW, because it feels like, you know, on USA, it was always, like you said earlier on, it was a favor as much as anything else. They had this good relationship. They had this show they wanted to give them, you know, content for, and I'm sure they basically paid their expenses. But now it's at a network where it is going to be profitable. It is going to be given like a kind of like a level of respect. And it's going to be like the main wrestling show on that station. And I think there's a lot there they're going to hang their hat on, because now they're organized and they don't have the mentalist in charge around the place. That massively helps.
You know, he's stuck his oar in though with this NXT deal. It's been like, what? Another company's getting a TV deal. All right, let's get the PR machine going. What? They had an angle on their pay-per-view where what was that? Was it James Mitchell taking some coke or something like that?
That's what it was. They shot themselves in the foot. They were having a game of like cards or a drinking game, JP, and then he just got the cocaine out and started. It was random, so random.
Right on the brink of a TV deal. I saw the gif of it and I was like, is that James Mitchell? Like,
I didn't know what he was doing at first, Benno. That's how mad it was. I didn't even look to see. I just thought like, he was like just dancing about or something. And then someone made a reference to it, and I watched it. I was like, did that really just happen? It was fucking
WWE wins again. Well, I'll keep us updated on the business stuff. Brandon Thurston's doing a bit of a breakdown of the conference call. Will be on air while we're on air, so we'll see if anything interesting comes from it. The only thing Brandon said so far is apparently the table of revenues breaking down UFC and WWE stuff. Obviously, as we said there with the numbers, apparently it's only 18 days worth of WWE stuff, which is why he's multiplied it for his numbers. But he does also say that apparently there's no attendance breakdowns for WWE in the financials anymore, just a number of events. So you can just make up numbers now. Not that it's ever stopped them in the past. Just say whatever they want. There we go. That's going to be
closer nowadays.
We've lost that minimal amount of accountability for those numbers. So Tony can't watch out, but we'll see how about round to it as we see what comes out over the next half an hour or so. But yeah, we should talk Crown Jewel. If we're going to talk it as a show, did you watch it live, JP, on Saturday night, or were there other blood sports that were taking your attention?
I was getting angry at my TV at a poor Arsenal performance combined with the VAR stuff at St James's Park, and that was on at the same time. I mean, I think the only benefit I really had from it is I had £2 on a bet that came in at 10-1, and again I thought, well, I should have put a £5 on that now because it seemed bloody obvious with those one of those request a bet specials. But so no, I didn't see it live.
Live bets, weren't they, on Sky Bets? I think they closed them eventually, but it was like for once you could kind of half bet in play with the WWE show for the first time. I know.
That is wild.
Money could be made. JP made some now. So
yeah,
praying for an injury or something like that, and a referee would put up an X just to completely fucking ruin a bet. This is how match fixing starts. And if you get match fixing in a fixed sport, then fuck me. What are we at that stage? Where are we? That's just like Inception.
Well, at that point, Matty, do you want to take us through what should we talk first on the show? What do you make of it, first of all? I know, obviously, we've talked the real life side of it, and it will remain a thing. But as far as actually the presentation of these events, you've definitely got more tolerance than us for them. Whether they fall in the Crown Jewel pantheon, as far as shows go. No Brock on this one, first time ever. No, obviously no Walter either, but apparently Gunther. But apparently that was something to do with them trying to get a 6-month residency in the US, which is a hard task. So I think he's going to stay there 6 months for his visa residency or something like that. That's the reason he wasn't on the show. But it was still loaded show, rare Roman appearance. Probably not going to get another one of them until the Rumble. When they, what it is when they trot out Logan Paul, that's when it's a big show these days. Like me and JP said on the weekend show, he's 100%. They have stumbled into their new Shane McMahon. He's 100% Shane. Like, that's him now. Like, he's just like, he fills that role, doesn't he, of that novelty match that only happens when it's a big show. Like, Vince has finally found a new son, and it's Logan Paul. But I will say, for the positive of the show, having that on there made it feel like a big show. Felt like LA Knight being in the main event. He's a big winner, at the minute. I think obviously he's not, if we're doing Cody and Roman at WrestleMania next year, he's not getting despite being the hot babyface of the time, he's not getting that big win. So what else can you do with him? Well, put him in a big title match like they have here, and they did. And I thought he gave a good account of himself, and they protected him well enough. I think he was a big winner coming out of this pay-per-view. But yeah, what did you think of it as a whole? Did it live up to the lofty expectations of these Crown Jewel shows, mate?
No, I'm comparing it to the last 2 pay-per-views as well, to be fair. Like, I thought, I've seen a lot of people say it was just fine. I think it was just above fine. I think you had a couple of really good matches, in my opinion. And the other ones, like, people are being a bit negative on, I think they were still good. And this is where I'm not going into the matches debate so early, Benno. It's like, it's what you'd expect. Like, it's an hard one. I just thought there was a couple of ones that weren't great, of course, but I think it delivered for me. Like, it was way better than the last 2 pay-per-views on American soil, for sure. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I did.
Felt more significant than them, didn't it? Which is, again, part of like the deal that you've got here. But yeah, where do you want to start? Do you want to start the main event first? How did LA Knight, attune himself to being a main event wrestler? My expectations were at the floor, and I've got to say, I said this over the weekend, and I said it like seeing him make it his big entrance for this show. Like, he was in the main event here, and the irony is the last Saudi show, they were at a presser, weren't they? And fans were chanting his name at Triple H, and he was sat in the audience, basically, wasn't he, for the show? But I think he said it to Steph in an interview there that he was like literally pitching to WWE, like, just give me a match. Like, it might make sense, you know. And they were like, no. Like, and that was you know, the Vince McMahon creative with WWE. Fast forward here, like I say, for the negative, I might have to say, in general, I think they've handled him really well. They've like, it's the most basic compliment you can give a company, to the point where it might be a little bit backhanded here, Matty, but like, they're actually getting baby faces right. It's the most simple thing in the world to do. And, you know, I've still got my criticism about last year's Mania, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of arguments in the run to this year's Mania. But as an overall, if you're just looking at it bird's eye view, dude, he's doing a cracking job with the baby faces right now. They've got like Sami Zayn right there. They've got Cody Rhodes there. They've got Jey Uso. Like, even, you know, I was a detractor of Jey Uso, but he's over as like that upper tier kind of baby face. LA Knight is particularly strong right now. And that should be, you know, we shouldn't be throwing roses at them for it, because this is just basic stuff. You should have some baby faces, you know, who are strong and who are built well and who are, you know, not losers and not like, you know, suffering the old Vince McMahon booking. But right now, like, they've got a crew of them, like 4 or 5 of them, who are all strong at the same time, who are all likable, who are all people that generally the fan base want to cheer, and they're all people that aren't, like, you know, being made a joke of, or, you know, made to be jobbers in the booking, who are being protected. And again, I know that's not a high line to clear. It shouldn't be. It's very basic as far as running a wrestling company. You want over baby faces, but it's not something that has been the case, you know, the last few years or so. And I think Knight's kind of the poster boy for that right now.
Yeah, but as you say there, you listed 4 or 5, and they're all getting to cut like actual babyface fire promos. I put that on Twitter the other day. Like, you never seen that for years. They're getting, and as you say, they're organically over. The fans genuinely want to cheer and want to see all these succeed. Like, and you say there about LA Knight, we talk about this match. I thought they protected him a hell of a lot, and Roman gave him a hell of a lot as well. And I always say this about LA, and I said it last time, he's not one of these people that's just glad to be there. Even his character's not like thanking everyone or pandering to the fans or to management, like, thank you for the opportunity. His character, and it's probably him in real life, is like, no, I fucking deserve this. I'm going to take it with both hands, grasp it. And even in the introductions, where like you see, even like, you know, where they're getting announced, he's like in Roman's face, he's standing in front of him, like, even little stuff like that you wouldn't usually see with someone like that. And I just thought they protected him so well. And even on the finish, you know, people are sick of the spear through the barricade spot, but at least they played into the finish this time, though. It was just a throwaway spot halfway through the match.
I mean, it can go in the bin, though, can't it? It can go in the bin, that's fine.
They played into the finish at least, to protect them, you know, with the interference and stuff like that. So that's another layer.
That's the little thing.
Yeah, of course.
But that's the thing, when we said, like, I'm never gonna like be like, oh, Triple H is like this genius booker of the year who does all these amazing things. Again, it's just basics, but that's basic, isn't it? You want to protect your top baby faces.
That's It's the most basic thing in the world.
But I think even you would agree with that, Matt. If you go back over the last, you know, decade or so, with Vince McMahon ran WWE, like, you might not agree with me. It was all crap, but I think you would agree with me that, like, little basics like this, as far as, like, you know, going with people who get organically over and protecting the people who get organically over, and realizing the intrinsic value that an over babyface who can sell you a few t-shirts will do for you. Like, that's been missing. It has absolutely been missing, and it's a minimum standard of a competent wrestling company. And for better or worse, it's back.
It is, and as you say there, you listed them going back to it, even on Raw. Like, Cody will always, like, since he's come in, he's been the one, hasn't he? The one baby face that, like, even under Vince, they get protected until his injury and stuff took him out. He did. So that one is on its own, Cody. But as you say, Sami Zayn, you know, under Vince's regime, there was little moments where you could went with him, and he just didn't. And like now, especially, I know people go up the Roman match and whatever for that. I'm not going retreading that again. But like now, once again, no, I'm not. It's like he genuinely is. He's another one that can hold his overness organically, and the fans love him. Then you got Jey Uso, like you said, everyone was proper negative on really coming out of it. They thought, well, they get the Roman match out of it, and then what? He is, if not, like, he's so over, Benno, like, it's not even funny at the minute. And then throwing Seth Rollins in there, which I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but the fans are loving him as well. And this is leading into, like, I would say, the war.
Yeah, I didn't include him in my list.
No, you didn't, but it's like, but he is one again that, like, the fans are behind, you know. And he's had his moments in the past as well where, like you're saying, but you're saying, like, under Vince, Seth's probably a perfect example of that. He was meant to be your baby face. That was like getting jobbed out, getting made to look like scared of people and stuff like that. That just didn't work at all. Now at least,
and he was heel, and he was babyface, and he was heel, and he was babyface again. There's no stability there, is there? With him, that's it. And to your point with the Usos, like you can literally, sorry, JP, put like I would have laughed at you, Matty, and gone, oh yeah, JP versus Jimmy's going to main event WrestleMania, is it? It's probably going to main event WrestleMania Night 1. Like it probably is, isn't it? I think that's more Jay than Jimmy, but still, like you know.
Yeah.
Something, doesn't it?
Maybe not main event. I mean, I open it. Maybe not main event. Like I don't know what they're gonna do with like you've got Gunther's gonna be up there and Seth himself, and if Punk comes back, we don't know. Joe, we don't know at this point. But I know it's a big Mania match. That's like he done last year with Dominic and Ray. He's penciled that one in like he did it like last year, and he's just riding it out until WrestleMania. They're gonna heat that up more at the Royal Rumble and stuff. So yeah, it's
the good thing is. Having all these baby faces, JP, it's just brilliant that they've got like a main event heel that's on every show, and it's going to be around. So he'll drop it at Mania, it'll be fine. We're still in the Roman verse. Is the maybe slight negative.
He's the final boss, Benno. Aren't you with it up to now? No.
I mean, you've got to beat the final boss at some point. It's not like a game came out where you can't beat him. Like we'll see.
Well, okay. Do you know when you were playing Sonic and you had who was it, Dr. Robotnik's? Did you beat him first time with Sonic? No, it took you 10 times to beat him, didn't it? No, you did all that. You didn't just go in and jump and hit him. You got all your rings come out of Sonic and you were fucking dead. Let's be honest.
Didn't get that far, mate. I just enjoy playing there levels 1.
Exactly then. And his code in Savvy got that far to get to the big.
They were the IWC levels, mate. That was where the work rate was done. It's serious. JP, what did you make of the main event? And this LA Night Rise. I think the thing about him as well is it's not not getting into the Cody conversation, as far as last Mania goes. You can make your arguments for why that was a travesty, and they have recovered, and Cody, to a point, has been protected, and is probably going to beat. It was. He's going to beat Roman next Mania, but with LA Knight, I don't think that's the conversation, is it? It's like, okay, yeah, this is level now. He's solidified as a top guy. It's a bit like what's going on, I think, with the positive of the Jay White MJF program in AEW. For all the negatives I can say about that, Jay White is going to lose that, and it seems obvious, and that's the negative of the program. But I think the positive is he's going to come out pretty much bona fide, solidified player at that level of the card, and I think that's kind of what they've done with LA Knight here. He's lost, but he's that's the part of the card he belongs in now, and he's going to sit around that level, even if he's not necessarily going to be the guy to beat Roman.
And that's it. I never thought he was going to beat him. And it was like, okay, so where would you use him? Well, you're going to use him on what feels like a big enough show in a main event position, and it kind of works. And I have to say, like you, my expectations like floor. I was expecting this to be like sort of truly awful. It was 3 stars for me. I'm not going fucking like overboard or anything else, but it wasn't shit, which is very much damning with faint praise in many ways, because that was always going to be the issue with him. Is like work rate wise, like Roman can deliver those kind of like big main events, and he did his damnness to kind of do it here, and it worked. I think for what they want from LA Knight.
Less dialogue. I was happy that there wasn't so much of that.
Yeah,
no monologues. This one.
And it was like for this as well. It felt like okay, rather like the Logan Paul match did. Like it filled a gap in the schedule for how they were going to use him, how to have this, and they at least they had the match, because how many times over the years under Vince McMahon, the match wouldn't have happened. People would have wanted it. He would have seen that somebody he doesn't like is getting over, and so he'd do his best to just squash them. Like I always think of like Zack Ryder. That's always the person who ends up coming to mind for it. I'm not like big Matt Cardona fan and everything else, but it kind of feels like in some ways a sort of like vaguely similar feel and character of somebody who's getting over, and then they just sort of end up squashing it. And here, at least they've got some value out of it. Like you say, that's what does a competent booker do? They see someone's over and they push them, and then they work out, okay, well, on their actual working ability, we can't go to this person long term, but there is some value in them. So why don't we get some value, and we'll protect them in the finish so we can use them again? Like all of the things that sane, sensible people looking at this in the cold light of day would do well. And as a bigger, broader point, I don't know if you agree with me on this. I think the thing that's kind of worked for them in terms of pushing people is not only the kind of consistency. There isn't a fucking McMahon or McMahon adjacent person who's dominating proceedings, who the entire point of everyone in the company is to make these people happy. That's not there. And it's good. Yeah, there are general managers, but the really big star people or the big people who are within the company, they don't really give a fuck. Like Nick Aldis, Adam Pearce, whoever. They're not dominating. So it's like the stars are kind of dominating.
Yeah.
As it should be, because it's rest. And this is the thing, it's just like this competent, consistent attitude to them. And you've got this well-oiled machine behind it, production-wise, being able to push these events. And that's what kind of makes them work. Even if overall, I think this is it's a bang average show, but I didn't have like massively, I suppose, high expectations, but it's delivering the kind of shit they want to do and what their fan base wants. So
this is that Triple H in a nutshell. You say that there, like, he is like, why did we hate him in the early 2000s? Because he was a cunt who had a gigantic ego and everything was about him, and it was about getting himself over at the expense of the other people there, because he was a cutthroat kind of guy who, like I say, was about self-preservation. We saw it with NXT and we're seeing it here. Like, instead of it being about him, it's about his product, and like he's like, his avatar is these stars. It is Cody, it is Roman, it is LA Knight, it is all these, his favorites that he's plugging right back into positions again. It's those guys that if they're strong, he looks good. If the show's better, he looks good. So like, it kind of works in a way. Like, we never thought Triple H would be like the babyface to WWE fans, but he kind of is, isn't he? For that reason, I think, because he enjoys that. I'm sure he's loving the Reddit with the W comments about how much better and competent things are with Vince out the way. But I was going to say, to talk the rest of the show, another big positive, I'd say, from a booking point of view, like maybe not on the babyface point. Solo Sikoa going over John Cena so fucking cleanly and strongly. That's another one where, Cena probably wanted to do it that way. I doubt you got the impression when he had the Austin Theory match at WrestleMania, even if they asked him, he would have said no, because he thought Austin, you could tell he didn't want to do Austin Theory at all. Like, no. he gives it lip service now, but there's no way he rates Austin Theory anyway. Yeah. Whereas with this, it was probably his idea. And a WWE might have talked him out of it. No, you're our Babe Ruth, John. You should go over. But no, Solo Sikoa is, for his faults, a big monster they're building up who should have credibility. And what better credibility do you get than beating John Cena? Despite his age, despite the fact we might well see his retirement, sometime soon. Could imagine that happening at WrestleMania. This was absolutely the move. Again, basics. Solo Sikoa goes over strong. Looked like an absolute killer here, Matty, beating Cena.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, going into this, Cena about 2 weeks ago cut one of the, honestly, I they mentioned it. I've been watching a few Cena interviews, and they asked him this on the bump, because I was thinking it the other week. Like, we live in a universe now where the whole arena is behind John Cena. Like, how many years was it split? Was it fucking, let's go Cena, Cena sucks? And I was watching this babyface promo 2 weeks ago going, this is what they wanted like 12 years ago. It's like, and now we're getting it. And he talked me into thinking, he can't lose this last match. He's lost so many matches he hasn't won in for 4 or 5 years. Surely he's going to win, even if it is against Solo. So that's how much he got me into it. And that made the result even more shocking and even more better, with just the way he was just so dominant. And I honestly loved, like, the match itself. The first 10 minutes was in slow motion. Let's not lie in that. It was so, like, literally.
It was never going to be Rumble 2007, was it?
No, it's plot and pace. But that finish was, honestly, I thought it was such a good finish. I loved everything about it. And even, like, I know it was a bit hokey on SmackDown, Cena selling the spike from last week where he had the raspy voice, but it was a good little touch for as hokey as it was. And yeah, let's not let him turn up on TV talking though in the next couple of months, because 11 spikes was it? So it's like, but I loved it. So just keep him away now and let him. Yeah, he'll probably have his Mania match, his retirement match probably at WrestleMania. But loved everything about this, like, finish.
Yeah, great.
I'm going to go with it as normally as I would do a stupid analogy for this. Kind of remind me of how I think about Steve Davis, the snooker player. I used to fucking hate him as a kid because he won all the time, and I never could understand why. But towards the end, like when he was on his way out, he was putting plenty of people over, and he was more entertaining on the promos, and we all kind of liked him. Now he's a banging, he's a fucking DJ. Like, I would have seen that coming. He was cracking. Hendry, to a lesser degree, has also had this kind of babyface turn for me from his like era of dominance as well. And you could kind of imagine John Cena saying, even back in the day, maybe I should be losing this one, and Vince going, nope, you go over strong. you don't fucking lose to any
that
of these
Nexus
lads.
multi-man, that comes to mind.
That kind of stuff. And yeah, I think I was more pleased for it again because it was the one in my bet that I had on. I was like, well, I don't know about
The
this. Like,
50-50
maybe
GP.
it needs a win. It was the 50-50 one, as much as anything. But yeah, it was just that, there's long-term value for this. John Cena doesn't really lose anything. No, I think there was the logical when he lost his last one. It's like, well, he's not an active wrestler. He's an actor.
And he can build himself back up. He's John Cena.
Yeah.
John Cena. He's
disappear for a few months, come back next time he's got a break from acting, and it'll be like not happened, won't it? Like, but I say not happened, but like the positives that Solo Sikoa can reap from this over the last few months on his side will be worth it as well. So no, I love that. Other than that, I thought it was a bang average show. I thought, I think the personification of it for me was Logan Paul and Rey Mysterio. I was quite excited for that, and it just didn't get going. I would say it was Logan Paul's worst match in WWE, and I don't necessarily blame him for it. I think Rey was off. Like there was that point, wasn't there, where he caught him? Like Rey would have literally landed on his fucking head. Like it was like a springboard crossbody thing, wasn't it? I think they were going into like an arm drag or whatever like that, and he caught him and literally had to go to his knees to scoop and stop him. There were a couple of awkward moments like that where, with the mask and what he looks like and how over he still is, you forget Rey Mysterio is as old as he is, but like there are moments like this where you're like, oh, okay, it's still, still Rey Mysterio towards the end of his career. And maybe it was a stylistic thing, maybe being in there with as much as we heap praise on Logan Paul, but somebody who's a little less experienced maybe wasn't good for Rey Mysterio either. But I thought it was just all right, and I think that kind of summed up the card in general, really. This match, I'd say, Matt.
No, you're saying there, like I'm not putting Rey down because I never will, but what you said there, he was off. But I still think Logan Paul looked great in this. And even if it was moves with a Z, which we laugh, like, as someone said, he's been watching his Hangman Page tapes with the buckshot lariat and then the fall away slam off the middle rope.
Oh, he did that as well, didn't he? Yeah,
I knew
the buckshot for a while, yeah.
But off the middle rope, not even the top. And like, he was taking code reds off Rey. So I still think he looked, and I like the finish as well. If we're talking from like a storyline as well with I love my story with Santos. They're going with that, aren't they? Where he picked the Nooks up and did he or did he not leave them conveniently for Logan Paul?
I had no idea who that was when he came out. So I was like to Steph, who's that? She was
you watch SmackDown every week, don't you?
I know, I had no idea. It was the yellow, wasn't it? The bright yellow he's wearing. I thought he was one of Logan Paul's mates. That's what I thought. Is that a YouTuber? Is that somebody who's coming together?
That's the guy who brought the Nooks out because he come out at WrestleMania with it all and stuff like that. SummerSlam, but like that was the one. Like that is what I like. I know it had a few matches that I've seen a bit negative where like they had 4 matches in a row where there was interference, which led to the finish, which led, and stuff like that. But I think this one worked because they have been subtly teasing Santos and Rey, like without it being in your face, they have subtly done it. And I thought that was a good little one in just putting the Nooks for Logan Paul to grab. So I did like that. And it gives Logan Paul, it's always what we've been saying. I think JP was the one that said it last year. But give him a belt to let him go and promote the belt all over it's exposure, JP, isn't it? And it's not the worst idea to see. Let LA Knight beat him at WrestleMania because they've had a little bit of back and forth, and it gives Knight a big win with the title. It writes itself,
And that was the thing that I immediately went to. I'd kind of expected him to win it. I mean, the bookies had all the way suggested that was going to happen. Like I was slightly underwhelmed by the match again because these Logan Paul matches on the big occasions have really like over delivered, and particularly last year at Crown Jewel where it was just like plausibly made you think about him possibly being world champion, which again isn't that mad. But then I thought to myself, actually, weirdly, what'll end up happening is he'll have a better match against LA Knight because it'll have a lot more bells and whistles to it and kind of the silliness which you couldn't really have in terms of the interactions between Rey and Logan Paul, whereas LA Knight on like with the microphone is going to be able to kind of cut some promos on, like, you know what I mean? It's going to be more sports entertainment, and that's going to be the thing. It's his athleticism working with the kind of sports entertainment aesthetic. That's going to be the thing that really like works at Mania if that's the direction they go in, which is a complete common sense direction. You could put that on. I wouldn't want to have it as an opener. I'd want to have it as like in the middle of the card as something that kind of has loads of bells and whistles and sort of can end up stealing the show. Have a confrontation with him at the Rumble. Have Logan Paul get rid of him. Like, easy. thing fucking writes itself, doesn't it? Like,
But Benno, you've said as well, haven't you, about like if we were wrestlers, we'd all be Logan Paul, because as you say, he's hitting buckshot lariats, then he's hitting like over the shoulder Argentina backbreakers. He's just doing like random stuff.
He's wrestler, isn't he?
Yeah, it's hilarious though. But
down to
even
the gear, it's what you give your creator wrestler in No Mercy, so like bright yellow pants and stuff like that.
do you know,
somebody like the SmackDown Creation suite? That's what he looks like.
saying it now, someone who they need to get him in there with to kind of hopefully steal some of his heat is Declan McMahon. If they can have him hook up with Logan Paul in some way, what a fucking monster heel he'd end up being. Already, he's a punchable arsehole. So, like, with that, it'd just be like the fucking chef's kiss.
Definitely. Yeah, any other notes on the rest of the show? I don't have much, really. I mean, yeah, I thought most of the other matches were bang average. Saying that, Seth Rollins had probably the best match I've ever seen him have. 3.5 stars, him and Drew McIntyre. Coincidentally, Matt, it was also the worst match I've ever seen him have. 3.5 stars. Yeah, that was on the show.
I hate the way you come to me like I'm this big chef guy. You know what I mean? It's like guilty by association, isn't it? I'm just saying, like, it's no, I just don't think he's that bad. The way people go on, I'm not saying
not that good though either, is he?
No, that's what I mean. He's all right. I'd have him on the card, have him on the roster. Fair enough. But no, I think this was a step above what you're saying there. I went 4 on this. I thought this.
They
told
pretends he's not a matches guy, JP. Here, this is PCW Ultra Mac coming out here. I know you. Apron 4 stars.
No, but
don't lie to the people.
Apart from the Swanton springboard moonsault, where Seth lost his mind for a minute, I thought he told a good story with this Seth's back thing. You know what I mean? Like, and did he keep working? And Drew actually worked on it quite well. You know what I mean? And I think Drew, you know, I know Gareth will hate this, but I always think he's underrated. You plug him in. Maybe had a match a couple of years ago at one of these events with Big E, and that was fucking good when Big E was the champion. Like, you can just plug him in, and I like the story they're telling with him as well, where he's like, he's a tweener, what, you know, he's coming across as a heel, but what he's saying is right, but he hasn't fully turned yet and stuff like that. So I thought that played into, and the fans, I know it was the opener, but the fans would bang into this all the way through. One of the like matches of the whole night where they were, to be honest with you. And I thought the work was a bit more than what you're saying in this one, Benno. This was like this could have been main event. Do you know what I mean? I thought the work was that good in this one. You're not going to change. You're not going to budge, like, but you know.
Sometimes you just got to let bad takes sit. You don't have to fight them back.
I say I like this new Drew. This Drew McIntyre as a heel, because there was some stuff in like that.
He's going to turn. He's going to fully turn.
Yeah,
he's doing devil's advocate. Sean O'Haire. That's what we all wanted.
Yeah, he's kind of good at it. Like, I think this is definitely the direction. You mentioned this about like kind of main event heels, and he'd be one of the people you'd imagine them thinking. And again, there's all contract stuff. I think
that's what
can't see him leaving. I can't see him leaving. I think this is the way of trying to get like an inherent value of him out of him. And if he's like a heel in a prominent position, and he's someone that they should definitely go along with, JP, and when he loses his shit.
Don't you think he should leave so he can main event Rampage for 7 weeks in a row now? Don't you think he should do that?
He's had his indie run. We've had the Drew McIntyre as a well-beaten moment. Drew Galloway.
You say Tony Khan wouldn't sign him though, Benno. You tell me he wouldn't sign Drew McIntyre.
He's a wrestler with 2 legs, isn't he? Like, of course Tony Khan would sign him.
No, but I think you're going to get a full-on heel turn. And to be fair, I think Brian Alvarez said this, and I agreed with him for once. It's like, the Judgment Day stuff, it's not that. You've got the faces carrying the load with it. You know, it is a bit samey every week on Raw. People were labeling this as the Bloodline and it's pomp, and it just wasn't. But this does feel the same with the Judgment Day. So I do think you need you need a story beat. You need either Priest cashing in or like him costing it or McIntyre joining them. You need something just to freshen it up. But they're lucky at the minute that they've got the 4 big faces that are carrying the load that they're into, so they can kind of get away with it, even though it is dead repeaty. But I think Survivor Series, you'll get that storyline like turn, or you'll get something to like let it play in a different direction. So let's hope anyway.
Any other notes on the rest of the show, Matt? Anything else stick out?
Yeah, no, that was it really. I thought, you know, Kairi Sane back, JP. That was rumored, wasn't it? That was rumored to be here, and I like that as well. Another interference finish, but you had the story there of. They actually mentioned that Bayley's the one who put it out to WWE. So obviously you've had the Bayley and Io like tension as well, subtly in the background. So She might cause a rift, and Bailey might go. You thought Io was the one that was going to be a face. It might be Bailey now. That's going to be the face with Dakota. So you got all, as you say, JP. It is. You're saying it's basic, but it's just good that out of these matches, you've got progression with different matches and story going on. So that's all I asked for, really, JP. To be honest, so I was quite happy with that. And once again with Rhea as well. That was the 5-way. Always, Rhea was always going to win, and none of the others stood a chance. But for what that was, it's a bit sloppy in parts, but it was all right. So yeah, I don't know what you thought of them, like, JP.
I personally, I mean, in terms of the matches themselves, like I thought they were kind of fight. There was like almost too much. Io Sky versus Bianca Belair can be like a better match than what it was here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think it's the thing of this show itself is it's a story show as well.
Yeah.
So it's building stuff up for like Survivor Series and then eventually towards the Rumble. I think it's the idea of bringing Kairi Sane back in a kind of big spot as well. It'd be interesting, like seeing them trying to turn Pam back face again. Like, I don't think we're ever going to return to the kind of old school Bailey necessarily, but like the booking of Io Sky has been like kind of like a pleasant surprise. Like this wouldn't have happened in other eras.
No.
So, and it's much like Rhea Ripley as well. Just booking to keep her strong. And
she's Triple H's favourite, though. Rhea Ripley, you can tell she's been focused strong.
It's going to be a massive face. Like that's the other thing as well. Is that's the stage we're getting to. I think with her, and you mentioned with like when we get the dissolution of Judgment Day, we're going to find the same thing with Damian Priest, where he's going to be over as like a kind of like a big character necessarily. I mean, I think it's interesting, like WWE, like sort of rumored to be going kind of Joshi crazy over the last week, even though Dave Meltzer, like in terms of Julia, who I don't know how much of her work you would have seen. I think it's an interesting story. I know Dave Meltzer says, well, actually, she's kind of booked for a while. The idea they'd let her go to the Performance Center.
He was scared there, Meltzer, JP. That was it was fear.
Well,
that's what that was.
And I thought with this, and this is the thing with this company, like, and when we talk about power struggle in the main event of that, and thinking where people should go, dare I say it, at the minute, WWE in this direction, like, it'd be the place you'd go to. If you're Julia at this stage, you think, okay, where would you want to go? Where are you going to earn the money? And where are you going to be kind of pushed? And you look at the women's division, which, while I'm not massively enthused, particularly with the 4 other people who are in the 5-way necessarily with Rhea Ripley, because she's kind of like much bigger star than all of them, it's competent. Like, and there's people to come back, and there's individual stories, not sort of merged into one. They don't just think, well, we made a Doja Cat video. Is that not enough? Is that not enough to kind of temper any booking problems with the women's division? So if you are Julia, you think to yourself, hang on, if I go there and I get pushed, like, she'll be earning more than what I imagine she would be doing in AEW. And she's likely to be in a prominent position, not someone who's going to be chucked down the card as well. And, because they've seen what they've done with this Io Sky run, and Kairi Sane will come in and she'll mean something there as well. And there's still loads of people who weren't on this show, like a Becky Lynch, like an Asuka,
Charlotte,
like a Lottie.
Right there. Yeah.
Like, we're still like leaving quite big names off this.
Got Jade to come in, JP as well.
Yeah, Jade to come in, and they can get away with this stuff at this point in time. So while neither of the matches necessarily didn't do anything for me, it's just more, and I hate it. Like, I won't lie, it's like watching a football side play really good football, but I kind of hate them as well at the same time. Barcelona with Messi, he's fucking just they were brilliant, but he just fucked me off.
They're a team that are winning. They're not playing pretty. They're just the winning. You know what I mean? It's like United and like the like towards the end of the Fergie years. It's like they're kind of not what they were, but somehow they're still doing all right. You know what I mean? But I suppose there's probably a better analogy. But you know what I mean?
That's like quite good, Benno. That's a good one, to be fair.
I threw a foot forward for you, mate. I know.
Yeah. I was going to say, where'd you get that from?
Moisey at Everton, mate, put me on Mastermind. I can tell you everything.
Yeah. What can I just say as well, JP?
The life and times of Tony Hibbert. 20 questions on that.
This is like a time thing, though. Like, it was honestly like this time last year we were talking about Crown Jewel, where me and you, like, it became like a thing. And every month when I was on, we like randomly booked WrestleMania from like this. It's this time again. Like, we've got Jimmy and Jay, as you say there. You've got Rhea might go up against Jade, or Charlotte v Jade. there's so many options, JP, and you're always big on that. Like they will have about 6 or 7 matches written down now, won't they? They genuinely will wrestle under Triple H. That's a fact. Like
they're able
more
to. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all. That's what I was going to say. You got more faith it'll happen. You got more faith it'll, like I say, Sami Zayn. Yes, he lost, last year. And again, like the Cody conversation, you can have that conversation, but it's not like he lost and then he's nobody. Like he's still going to be there or thereabouts. Like if you plugged him into a world title match like next year at some point, you might believe he could win again. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's not like he's just dropped back into the ether. Everyone's being kept at a certain point of again, competence is the word. Maybe that'll end up being the title, JP.
Yeah, I think that might end up could easily be the title of this show. And it's amazing what competency does and planning. That's the other thing in all of this, is it does feel like there is a long-term direction that they're going in. And it's always been their Achilles heel over the last few years, that they never planned. They never had that kind of organization, stuff that the company was kind of founded on, like who was going to be headline. What was Mania? And you work back from there and you do it for the entire year.
Mania season stopped being a thing. Stop getting excited for January to come. Like, you know what I mean? Those 8 weeks of WWE TV, even when I was at my most WWE shit, I'd be like, well, I got to watch because it's Mania season. Like
the past couple of years before that, like obviously pre-pandemic and stuff, it was like the last month they'd like be rushing things and stuff like that, and you didn't know what was going on really. So, and they stopped doing the Rumble spots and all that. I know it's like, you will get sick every year, but it's what you've got to do with the Rumble. You've got to do them spots where someone throws someone out. It's got to be done.
On that note, if you want a little bit, if we're done with Crown Jewel, a little bit more news as to what's going on. NXT on the CW is in fact now official. I believe that's the right one. There it is. We have a graphic JP NXT on CZW on CZW. That'll be a different story, wouldn't it? I'd enjoy that. CW 2024. Apparently on the call that's going on
NXT Tournament
right now.
of Death. That would be fucking. I'd watch that.
I'll be into it. Apparently on the call that they're on now, it's at first people were alluding to a possible more than doubling the rights deal for NXT. On the call, they have said it is a 70% increase on the current rights for NXT. So they'll be doing a victory lap on that. That's as Sean Ross Sapp has said, that's good business. You can't argue with that. Like that's way more than we don't know the exact number. I think, like I say, it's been alluded to over the years, but anything between like 15 and 50 million for NXT on US. I think it's believed to be in that 15 million range. But I know Rich Fan's been crunching the numbers. He said it looks like it's about a 200 million deal over the period for it. Like, fuck.
I'm
saying would something these cunts. It is United in the 2000s.
No, I was going to say, I hope Dominic Mysterio is getting a good handout.
I'm not saying it with any sense of irony there. Well, Dominic Mysterio deserves an increase. I mean, I don't know how much it is to run developmental. We used to always think about the money-losing operation that it was, but the big shows go out, and let's face it, they kind of draw the same as what AEW do for a lot of kind of house shows, if not more. Certainly when they're running like the kind of big pay-per-views, they've managed to turn this into a kind of cost-efficient enterprise as well at the same time. Not for me at all. Like, I don't like the idea of them earning money because very little of it will find its way into the coffers of the wrestlers themselves. But this is the kind of canniness of this era. We used to always talk about the genius of Vince McMahon. Nah, this is like the proper, they know how to monetize everything. Every match is sponsored. All the official sponsorship deals are in place. Like, they're very, it's like Arsenal for years were fucking lagging behind everyone else, not sorting out this stuff. Now everything is bloody sponsored, and it's like, they know what they're doing now. They're knowing how to monetize. They monetize developmental. They monetize developmental, which is something that, if we think of what Ring of Honor is for AEW, not managed to do that at all, have they? They've got 200 million for theirs. It's madness.
Well, they have said here as well, Sean Rossat reporting that in TKO's filing that they've got a mention of Vince in there that his membership on the board could have an adverse financial and operating impact on our business. They've got to put in there having the potential risk factors. I know that from my job, but apparently that's a new addition that wasn't in the last
picture of his
file.
face under risk factors, is it?
Just him.
His ever-changing face. I know. I'll dress up like a 1930s villain and no one will notice if I grow this moustache. Like, shit fucking disguise.
Well, on that note, that's all we know at the minute. If anything else breaks as we go, I don't think much more is going to come from this presser, but we'll see. But moving on from WWE, I suppose into another great business story, AEW Collision, of which I am the only man on the podcast this week who's seen it, and I can't blame you, lads, because there was nothing to fucking see.
Yeah, I was aware of what happened.
Matty's doing his journalism.
Yeah, but can I tell you what I did see, Benno? Just straight away, the belt, Jake the Snake. I couldn't believe when I see he come back out.
I didn't. Steph went, Jake the Snake's there on the outside, and I woke up at the wrong point, and I was like, no, he's not. What are you on about? He's not there. And then they zoomed out, and I was like, oh, fuck. He was so bad. The promo,
on the mic?
Like, the righteous aren't exactly, for the best analogy you can give, Bray Wyatt. But two of them are all right on the mic. Like, they don't need you. Like, I get it. Like, on paper, it's an E-Fed thing, isn't it? On paper, I'm going to put Jake Roberts with the spooky team, and they'd be great together, won't they? Like the cult-like team with Jake Roberts. It's like, yeah, but it's not 1988, mate. It's Jake Roberts in 2023, and he can barely fucking talk. Like, never mind stand or just exist. Like, it's like Flair again, isn't it? If you want to hear our Flair rants, by the way, they're all on the YouTube. We ranted again on the weekend show, didn't we, JP, about Ric Flair and AEW. I know you're loving it, Matty. I hate this. I want to go back to being believe it or not, we were once an AEW loving podcast. We were AEW bots right through, weren't we, JP? But yeah, Flair's killed it for us. Saying that next week, this is a plug, if you hasn't been enough AEW content for you this week, next week we are doing a State of AEW Spotlight special with Grapple Garrett joining me and JP, who has opinions on this that actually might surprise people. If you think we're just an echo chamber over here, I think Garrett's gonna maybe surprise a few people compared to how me and JP are feeling about the constant parade of old men that is now called AEW. But anyway, we'll see. This week's Dynamite looks all right, to be fair. Collision, on the other hand, no Ric Flair stinking up the joint. He's not earning his 2-year deal yet, JP. No Big Show either, so I'll take that as a win. We did, however, on Collision this week, get a pretty solid Swerve Strickland and AR Fox match. I enjoyed them doing that as the open to the show, as they brawled through the pyro out to the ring. It was quite a unique way to get a show started. And then it was kind of just a free fall. No Hangman Page. If you want to, again, recommend another audio, Brian Alvarez, his rant on why does Hangman Page not seem to care that Swerve Strickland is invaded his house and threatened to kill his baby or whatever he did. It's
amazing.
Hangman's just staying at home. He's like, you know what, love, not this week. I'm all right. I'll fight him next week on Dynamite. I'll get my revenge then. I had his Saturday off, as he does. He was conspicuous by his absence, as was really much of I don't know,
Hangman McCann.
It's funny when we talk the big AEW conversation next week. That's another point we'll have to talk about. It's like they really are this is very WWE again. It's like there's no consequences to anything, is there? Hangman Page has done. It's actually Hangman Page. Swerve Strickland over the last few months has done 2 home invasions, one of which he put a baby in danger, another one of which he basically almost killed a man. We've also got fucking, in other programs, Jay White's just stealing MJF's belt and walking around there. No consequence for that at any point. So I know that happens in WWE and in wrestling in general, but again, I have higher standards for AEW, maybe dotting these I's and crossing these T's. It's only we're only a few weeks off a murder, but I would say this Collision this week could have done with a murder, to be honest. It might have made things a bit more interesting, because I'm not shocked that the rating died a death for Collision this week. I was more surprised, in fairness to them. The quarter hours are kind of a straight line, but it's hard really to go anywhere when you're at the numbers Collision was at this week, because I know it was a WWE pay-per-view day, and that's kind of been the death knell of Collision in general. but they weren't head to head. You know, they were many, many hours away from each other. You know, it was like a good 3 or 4 hour break between the two. But yeah, it was at a 366,000 show with a 0.13 in the demo. Whichever way you slice it, obviously there's competition. I struggle to believe that you know, these are numbers that were you know, fully expected. But I don't know. I also don't want to take the other extreme and be like, well, this is what you get. This is what happens when Dynamite is bringing in all these old men, and you know, the creative is a little bit lopsided, and as we keep talking about JP, just the overall tone just seems a little bit too light and all over the place. I don't think it's as one-to-one as that, but I do think that the underlying story for me is just maybe the reason you haven't seen Collision this week, which is there's just too fucking much of it. And how'd you get excited about a Collision that has the lineup this week's show has? You know, how'd you make it a part of your week that, like, oh, Saturday night, I'm going to sit down and watch this? Like, there's no real reason to. And I think these types of numbers are going to become quite normalized with Collision.
I think so. I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head for me. Like, I, you know, had all the intention of watching it. I was out but I was just out all day Sunday, and then kind of it just sort of slipped from viewing because it didn't feel essential. So when I saw what happened and saw some clips from it, I was like, oh, okay. And it was like, oh, I mean to go back and watch it. And then but it still is kind of unessential. And I also think as well, while there's lots of people on there I kind of like even that Maverick Roosh that they've got back on there as well, it's at the same time, a lot of what we are sort of like the big stars of AEW, they're not on this show. And now we don't have Danielson on there. Obviously, you know, the Wicked Witch has gone away, so we don't need to worry about his presence on there as well. But we're not seeing. But that's it. You know, it's the other stars on there who, God forbid, never work a Saturday. Whether it be like, you know, the kind of, I'll maybe mention Omega and the Bucks and Hangman. Like, where are these people on here as well? And while we've simultaneously kind of got the overexposure of MJF a lot of the time in there as well, it is one of those things where it is like, you know, there'll be some good wrestling, there'll be some stuff that when I do get round to kind of seeing bits of this properly, I think, oh, okay, that'll be all right. Like, I like the workhorsemen. They're not going to draw you a rating.
Oh, they're great. Yeah. Well, we were watching live, and like, you know, we had it on because it was a midnight start because the clocks hadn't quite changed in America yet. They've changed now. But like, that main event was just like, in the old days of Collision, you could get away with, oh, we're gonna have a big 8-man, and it's all the people in the, you know, who are interacting at the minute, and it's a bit meaningless, but Punk's in it, and you know, he's teaming with FTR, and isn't this novel? That was cool for 3 weeks at the very start. Now when it's FTR and Preston Vance and Roosh, you know what I mean? It's like, as much as I like Roosh against Ricky Starks, Big Bill, who again, wrestlers I like, teaming with the Gates of Agony. Like, give me that's not a main event. Like, you can't get away with that. And like, it's also, I've lost track of it, like, because we're gonna do our State of AEW thing next week. The What Culture lads, they're like fucking cracking version of that this weekend. Yeah, oh, it's brilliant on the YouTube. It's only an hour long. What Culture isn't your type of thing. I get it. We've been talking about it in this Discord, but those lads specifically, Cedric and Hamflet, good lads who got great takes on
Dudley
AEW,
boys, isn't it? They're very
yeah, big fans of them over here. And yeah, I think it was Cedric talking about it. Like, it's these alliances in AEW. It's like Tony Khan's cheat sheet to make sure everyone gets on the telly. And it crystallized something for me, JP, that like, it is something we've complained about over the years that gets made fun of. Oh, you can't handle so many people on telly. Oh, like, you can't, what's the problem with, you know, an angle happening and, you know, it's the best friends involved, and then Hook turns up, and then fucking, for whatever reason, Wheeler Yuta's there as well. And then for whatever reason, like, oh, Danhausen's mates with them now. Like, every AEW, like, faction or like group of people as all these bolt-on different people. They don't exist really to push to continue a narrative. These things exist to get these people on telly. Like, that's all it is. They're knocking around backstage, so fuck it, we've got to get them on. So you get a lot of that, but also it's the alliances have just stopped making sense. Like, it should, if you were going to do that and you were going to be like, no, it's like, it's Dragon Gate booking. You know, everyone should have an alliance. Wrestlers should have friends. That's the issue with WWE. It's like, well, yes, but like, you've got to keep track of those alliances. You know, you've got to like keep things straight. 'Cause, like this show ended with, I was like, I don't understand why people who's friends with who here. Like House of Black did like a distraction there. So then Brody King, Buddy Matthews, Malachi Black come out and attack FTR. Then Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli. I've got at this point, are they faces, are they heels? Are they somewhere in the middle? Like, fuck knows. Come out and make the save for FTR. And it's like, oh, is that an alliance now? I don't like none of these alliances mean anything like anymore. It's just fucking people bolted onto people to give you the big hot end to the show with lots of people involved. But it's like it hasn't ended anymore. There's no like logic to who any of these alliances are at this point.
Do you know how many people are involved in that final match in one way, shape, or form? 16.
There you go.
16 people are involved. Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood, Preston Vance, Roosh, Jose the assistant, Drillistico, Ricky Starks, Big Bill, Count, Toa Leona, Prince Nana, Brody King, Buddy Matthews, Malachi Black, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli. That is fucking ridiculous. Like you are, the expectation is you're going to be aware of all of the relationships. These aren't like big stars either. We're talking.
Yeah, who's Preston Vance?
At the same time.
I'm not talking about casual fans. I'm talking about people who watch AEW every week. Do they
well,
know
you say that. Preston Vance is banging in some goals for Bayern Munich at the minute. Like he is fucking on fire. Like, that can't be denied. Like, and he managed to get over there and score a hat-trick against Dortmund as well, and still managed to make it back to wrestle this match.
But it's not AEW's biggest fault because there's loads of others like we're going to get into next week. But it's like when people push back on that and go, "Oh, JP's just listing off numbers. What's wrong with that?" It's like, okay, think of like a great scene that happened in a TV show, and just to go grapple retro, I'm going to use EastEnders. Remember that really emotional scene that Phil Mitchell and Simon had in the garage that time? You know, where it was like, you know, it come to a head, and it's like very emotional, like bit of kind of like, you know, two men coming together and like there's a big hug, like great moments, all of that. Imagine if there was like Peggy Mitchell was in the corner and there were like four other characters, and then the bloke who's like on the fucking grocery stand is stood there as well. And, like, you know what I mean? Oh, Mark Fowler's got to get involved as well. Like,
Minty runs in.
Yeah, that meant something because it's two characters having a moment. Like Tony Khan's just like, oh, we'll just bolt on all these people. Fucking better example. Hangman Page can't be asked to turn up for Collision. You know, fucking cut a promo for him on this show. Who fucking you got involved in this Hangman Page very serious storyline with Swerve Strickland. Alex Abrahantes. He was the one who cut a promo on Swerve Strickland as to how disgusted he was at what he'd done to Hangman Page's family. And Penta doesn't like it either, and he's going to get his revenge. And it's like, why are these fucking nerds involved in this story as well? It's just, yeah.
Was he dressed like NWO Sting, or was that just a fever dream that I had?
He kind of toned it down a little bit for this week, but you know there is that's AEW right now. But like, there wasn't much else to say on the show. He set up some good matches for Dynamite. Dynamite looks like a good in-ring show. Stop you if you've heard that before. But yeah, Joe and Keith Lee got set up. Obviously, we don't need Keith Lee and Swerve to finish their story. Or you know,
have a match.
Yeah, you know, you could potentially do that at some point, but you know, instead we're getting this. But yeah, it'd be great. So I'm not going to complain too hard. There are a few good matches set up for Dynamite, but that's kind of all I can really say about Collision this week. So no, JP asked if I was going to tell him off for not doing his own work. I'm not, mate. You didn't miss a thing. It was a show that existed. Nice to see Mark Briscoe on telly again. Don't think I have anything more to say on it.
There were 2 6-man tags and an 8-man tag in the main event. And you know how I feel about multi-person tags. For the love of God. Oh, and a tag match involving the Kingdom as well. I'm knackered. And that's just reading fucking cage match. I'm shattered reading that. That's mental.
It was only a collision, you know. We'll judge it on Dynamite, but that's problematic in itself. You know, It's only a collision. You know, at the start, we worried this might happen, and yeah, this is where we are with it. As far as Dynamite goes this week, we do have a better card coming up. I think at least from an in-ring point of view, one thing that got set up on Rampage this week, in case you missed that, I'm sure as most did. So we had on there. What else did we have? Sorry, I'm on ProWrestling.net, and the The audio's just started auto-playing.
I found that. I closed it down straight away. I was like, who's this bloke talking to me? Get it off. Yeah.
Jason Powell. If you could hear that, shout out to Jason Powell, who has the cards up for this week's Dynamite. I'll get us back on track. MJF v Daniel Garcia, which was set up on Rampage this week.
A match set up by you.
I was going to say, I wonder why that's happened.
Daniel Garcia, liking my tweets, has caused this ripple effect. I think Voices of Wrestling are taking some credit for it as well, because he mentioned something about voices, I think, in the tweet about getting the match. This is not. I'm not having this, by the way. I know Gareth might be a bit defensive of AEW when we talk next week. This isn't a defense of the handle of Daniel Garcia. This is a reaction to the handle of Daniel Garcia. It feels to me like complete guesswork. MJF's kind of, who seems in tune with the criticism that people are giving AEW, has kind of gone, put him with me. With me. Let's just do fucking something with Daniel and give him a match. And maybe something will come out of it. Maybe he'll stop doing the daft dance. Although his picture in the image is him doing his fucking crap dance. So there is that. Samoa Joe, Keith Lee, of course, on the show. Swerve Strickland v Penta, both matches set up on Collision. Jay White v Mark Briscoe was also set up on Collision. Presume that's a Jay White win on the road to the world title match. Julia Hart, Red Velvet, Sting and Darby Allin versus the Outrunners, which I don't mind. It's a jobber match, I think. Their jobbers to the stars, the Outrunners, Turbo Magnum, and
Beverly Brothers, 2000.
Yeah, Sting against them kind of feels right, doesn't it? Feels like something you would see on like Pro or Saturday Night. You know, the odd time Sting might turn up to those takings, so that makes sense. Tony Schiavone's doing a sit-down interview with Shida.
Is he doing a shit? He probably is, because that's how bowels work, I suppose.
Tony
Starr will, but it'll be in black and
TV,
white.
no?
Be doing all this. Yeah. Fucking.
Was he going to be in black and white while he's holding a copy of whatever the US equivalent of, like, fucking, I don't know, the Sun sat on the.
Can I just say as well, like, I like Tony Storm's new gimmick at the start, but then as seen she's got Luther as a butler, and it's like, no, not having Luther.
Deathmatch legend Dr. Luther.
Yeah, didn't know he was still there. Genuinely didn't know.
Mate, kill Jester. Not the only time we've said it on this show, but kill Jester.
Have we used it for a title yet? Maybe it could be that. Yeah, any thoughts on the card, Jimmy? That's a good Dynamite card, it is. I presume we'll get, we'll be starting to get the hard sell for the pay-per-view. I presume MJF and Jay White will interact on either side of their matches. I'm sure MJF will give Daniel Garcia a competitive match as well. I'm expecting a Taka Michinoku Triple H type match, or maybe Shelton Benjamin Triple H is better. That's what I think we're getting there.
It's good in ring, and we know that at least they've built a few matches up for the pay-per-view, something that we've been critical of them, but to give them their dues is
they put that right. That is, it's amongst the overall tonal shift and issues and stuff. There are some, like, I think Rovert said that before. It's getting lost, isn't it, in the conversation, because there's so much other shit. It's like, oh yeah, they're announcing matches, in advance, and they are building stuff, and they are, for the most part, protecting some of the young wrestlers. Which reminds me, I've forgotten to throw on here on the graphic for Jericho and Friends against the Don Callis family. Have you seen this?
Yeah,
it's only Don Callis on the graphic.
Yes,
I have to find it now. Like, if anyone could tell you that Don Callis is the star of that stable, it's this.
Fucking hell, that's just taking the piss now at this stage, and it's like he's bloody well playing into it. The thing. I can't help but feel we're going to end up getting, like, even then, we've got all of these matches. It's going to feel like a lot of stuff is crammed in. That's the other kind of fear. Well, I've gone the other route from what they had in Collision, in the sense that it's all fucking singles matches, apart from that Sting and Darby Allin match. But it's still 6 matches on a 2-hour show, which is, again, like, we're kind of asking. A lot of those are going to be competitive matches as well, being given that kind of bit of time. So does it make you feel that we're going to go into we're still going to be doing Mookie-nomics booking, where we're just going to have that kind of slow build in there as well?
I should say as well, for the video viewers, the Callis family match is next week's Dynamite, the 15th. To avoid
Don Callis in a 4-on-1 handicap match where he goes over clean over Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, Chris Jericho, and the Big Show. Like,
boys, honestly, like, if you were I know I'm a week behind with this take on Big Show, but imagine in 2019, Benno, like, someone saying Kenny Omega and the Big Show teaming up. I would have loved that back then. I would have fucking loved it. It's outrageous.
As a wacky
shit, shout, Matty. I went to WrestleMania 22 and Big Show and Kane were stale then. That was fucking 16 years ago. Awful. We're lucky JP Ric Flair get involved, mate.
I mean, but this is the thing. I mean, and don't get me wrong, as soon as you bring in
it is 18
Show,
isn't it?
you go, you could have some real like wackiness, him versus Kenny Omega. For no other reason, just to fucking see those two in a wrestling ring. Just like it would make me laugh. But I don't think that's what wrestling at its best is meant to necessarily make me do, is laugh in some sort of ironic way of like, what the fuck am I watching? How wacky is this? And instead, what we're getting, is another multi-man. Although the idea, again, I'm warming to. Well, you're pushing Don Callis. You might as well have him fucking go over clean, over 4 of them. Do like some fucking Survivor Series one where he's the only survivor, as well for it. But wild shit in 2023.
It's just a strange show. Like, have you any thoughts before we move on, Matty, on Dynamite as a whole? Like or AEW as a whole? Did you watch last week's show? Like that streamed you. MJF trying to find partners and building himself up to the big scissoring spot in the main event. Like,
I think like you guys said, like I admired them trying to do a show long storyline. That's fine, but it was just too much. And I'm one that can like take a bit of the skits, and obviously watched it for years and comedy and stuff, but it was, even as you say, build up to that big, like another comedy spot. It is a bit too much, and I'm not just jumping on like what everyone's saying there. It genuinely is the case that, and I haven't mentioned it.
It was coming after. Just quickly, it was coming after as well. The other positive point you can say, Jay White pinning MJF clean. Well, not even clean, as a heel kind of thing, with like, doing the spot with Max Caster getting in the way, the belt shot and stuff like that. And but that was one step forward, but they take 2 steps back because 10 seconds later, everyone's up on their feet. Billy Gunn is towering over everybody, being like, "Come on, man, you better fucking scissor." And like they do that, like it's like we've just forgotten now, haven't we? Like the actual important piece of the story, which is that Jay White just beat MJF. Like that should be the thing.
But I've got to mention that Billy Gunn. I know I told you privately, but honestly, like JP on that weekend show, I was crying for 20 minutes when I had to get out the bed. Steph was fuming at me because when you said he doesn't even sell for his fucking kids, JP. I've rewound it 50 times, and I'm not lying. Honestly, mate, I was gone. It summed it all up. He's 60 though. As you say, but he's still towering over everyone. He's fucking 60.
Ridiculous.
And he thinks he's the Rock, don't he? You can see it. He doesn't realise he's Monty Sopp. He doesn't realise he's fucking. He teamed with fucking BG James as the James Gang in TNA 15 years ago. In his head, it's 1998, and he's up there with Triple H and The Rock, and he shouldn't be the one taking the falls. He shouldn't be selling. He should be dominating the match. And the problem is, the fucking heels are all. You got me going now. The heels are all marks, including Jay White, and they're all bumping and feeding for him and going. Oh. I know 2 of them are his sons, so of course they are.
He should be
the other 2 as well.
They
were giving him way too much. Like if you just put that on and said, I hate the casual fan chat, went, "Who's the world champion in this match?" Would they have said the fucking knobhead in the t-shirt, or would they have said Billy Gunn? I think they'd say Billy Gunn based on the way that match was let out. Like fucking embarrassing.
You gotta laugh though. You gotta laugh.
You have. It's still funny.
Oh, you'll try that. Oh.
The 8th wonder of the world, Monty Sopp. There you go. But anyway, that's AEW. I don't think there's anything more to say. Like I said, we'll be doing a big deep dive on AEW next week as a precursor for the pay-per-view Full Gear, which is next Sunday. But yeah,
no, Edge. I've seen a few of the things. How's he getting on, Benno? Is he not doing great? I've seen like
he's aging. Yeah, he's still aging like 3 years every day. And by the time we get to the pay-per-view, mate, he's going to look 155. That's where we are.
Fair enough.
He hasn't been doing much really, other than he's now mates, isn't he, with Sting and Darby.
Yeah, I seen that. He accepted that. That was all right.
Didn't take too much convincing, really. Felt like a story that was going to be a few weeks long, and then I'm guessing, I don't know, you didn't have the dates for him or something like that. And it's like, fine, I'll be your mates. Fine, I'll fight Christian, and we're going straight to the match. Yeah. Whatever. That was the thing, Matty. We got him in AEW to have all those fresh mashups, You're so excited to sink his teeth into this. Christian. is who he's working.
It's coming. The singles is coming.
They had to do it. They had to. But let's get it out the way.
Yeah.
And the only positive I can say about him is like, yeah, let's see him in some different environments. Let's actually see him. If you had to sign him, you had to use him. Let's see him doing some more interesting stuff. On that note, should we switch over to a few other things we've seen? New Japan. Should we start with Wrestle Kingdom, JP? We had a few Wrestle Kingdom matches set up at a Power Struggle this weekend. That was the other one of the bumper Saturday, wasn't it? It was Power Struggle Saturday morning, Saudi in the afternoon, and then Collision at night. I did watch all three. But yeah, the big news, as I covered on the now free Monday news update that's on our Patreon. You can become a free Patreon member, patreon.com/grapple. You get our news updates and some other stuff in there as well. But yeah, talked it on there. Akada Danielson, made official via video package. Brian Danielson's got the eye patch back, so wrestling's back, folks. I'm excited. If it's anything like the last one he had in ROH with an eye patch on, we're gonna get good things. But yeah, apparently he was supposed to be at Power Struggle, but obviously with the injury, couldn't be. So they did the video instead. So that got set up. Some of the matches, it gets more bizarre as you go. I'll go bottom up. Francesco Akira and TJP against Clark Connors and Drill Maloney for the junior tag titles came as a result of the end of the tournament on Power Struggle. Hiromu Takahashi versus El Desperado. As good as it always is, feel like I've seen that 400,000 times. It's probably only about 3, but that's also at Wrestle Kingdom as well. But I will say, a match I never expected to see. They had, and this is probably the talk of Power Struggle. JP was Will Ospreay against the odds, and a marked man who's apparently wanted by WWE and AEW at this point. Beat Shota Umino. John Moxley, who'd worked Great Khan earlier on the show, and actually quite a fun wild brawl, came out, and we thought, we're getting Moxley versus Ospreay. That's a nice, unique match for Wrestle Kingdom. Nope. Switchblade Dave Finlay came out and got involved and broke basically the US and UK titles, like scooped out the logo from the middle of them both, and just for whatever reason is now in the match. So it's a 3-way match: Will Ospreay versus John Moxley versus David Finlay. Don't wish anyone to get injured, JP, but if something could happen where Dave Finlay had to fly back home to America or something like that at some point around Wrestle Kingdom, that'd be great. Because I feel like Moxley and Ospreay was the match to be made there. But instead, we got a 3-way. But yeah, Wrestle Kingdom taking shape, JP. Any thoughts? I assume you can hear me.
I think now, yeah, because my sound went entirely during that last bit, and I was just trying to get it sorted out. So many apologies. I could see you mouthing and me trying to do it without any of the video viewers noticing. I'm assuming, though, you were talking about the 3-way that was set up.
Yes.
Yes, as well. That was at one point looking like, that's an interesting Wrestle Kingdom match, and I think that's a good one to chuck into the mix. It's only been done once before, I think, in terms of Ospreay and John Moxley, and then we had David Finlay come out. For this, watching this was kind of weird, actually. I'd say for the whole show, because a lot of it I was on Saturday morning. It was on really early, and I was up, obviously, because I always am up. So I had a lot of it on in the background. So it was kind of inoffensive background viewing. And when Tamatonga or Tangaloa turned up, I just walked out the room and did some housework. Basically, that was it. So I got round to but not seeing the main event, because I knew I needed to concentrate on it, because I'd heard so much stuff about it as well. For this kind of main event, which I thought completely fucking delivered, in ring. I thought it was I know it sounds like it's a very trite cliche thing almost to say this year that Will Ospreay had a kind of an amazing match, but I won't lie, that David Finlay stuff at the end, and it's not that I really dislike David Finlay, but very much one of these is not like the other two in terms of being a kind of a big meaningful star. New Japan don't do 3-way matches well at all. It's a lot of the time they're not really sure what to do. Just go, I'll go out there and figure it out yourself, lads. And I'm not, and it suggests that he's going to win, and there's going to be a lot of bullshit involved into the mix as well. Otherwise, but he just feels like he's it's just a step too far. Whereas for Will Ospreay, you think, well, what's a big match that we can do in Japan? It's like him and Moxley. And, while I would have loved him versus Omega, being set up. Don't get me wrong, to put an end to the kind of trilogy. We're getting this instead, and it makes me think: are we going to be getting a really great Will Ospreay match? Because how many three-way matches in New Japan have I ever liked? And I remember, was it Omega, Ibushi, and Cody Rhodes? And I remember feeling pretty much the same way of like Cody Rhodes, like him versus Ibushi. You think you're going to get a great match. It's going to feel like a proper kind of epic. And instead, it's going to be like we're just going to be waiting around for the bullshit to happen involving Bullet Club. And Finley's the one who's going to always be around. So, like, you know, and he's like the kind of pushed commodity. And it's incredible after all of this, after their merging of the world title, which has proven to be fucking pointless because they realized, oh, hang on a minute, we do need a secondary title, which then forced them to push at various times the never open weight title as the secondary title. And then the US heavyweight, to which then Will Ospreay then created the UK heavyweight to then split these up. And I think I saw, you know, host of must-see matches, Kieran, who's also a subscriber on here, mentioned this on Twitter, which is very true. It's like it's almost like they're looking for a belt to span several continents, maybe intercontinental title, which is the thing they got rid of in the first fucking place. So what an elaborate way to get round to the fact that you got rid of your secondary belt. You didn't know what to do with it, realized you kind of needed it, something substantial. And here we go. We're getting the kind of creation of that all over again. But they're just to be used as probably a tool for Bullet Club. So yeah, that put a bit of a dampener on proceedings for me.
Just the championship at this point is how it's referred to on NJPW1972.com. We don't know what belt it is. It's a belt. In fact, the teaser on the official website says what belt is going to be on the line. Who knows? Well, we'll find out at Wrestle Kingdom. Like, okay, cool. Yeah. And what do you think on the Ospreay thing? Do you think he's done? Like, would you reckon, Matt? Do you reckon he end up in WWE Ospreay? Like, I just feel like that's just something people say. AEW's got to be the layup. Like, I think it's funny. Yeah. As great as he is, I'm not actually sure I want to see it. It's like I love him. I suppose you make room for the best wrestler in the world from an in-ring point of view. Matthew, calm down. But like, you make room for that. But it's still AEW that's got like 16 other characters they need to take care of first. They were getting lost in the booking right now. That you probably need to pay attention to rather than force an Ospreay in also. But I still feel like that's got to be the lead candidate. Like I think now with all the talk he's done with the build to this match, I'm almost certain it's he's done for with New Japan. But is it as simple as just AEW? Like the interest is real apparently.
I think it is, but I think it's already for me. It's signed. I think he's already in AEW because that's where it's like the Jay White stuff. You know what I mean? We thought he might go to it's just the same as that to me. He'll fit NXT in there.
Ramen says in the chat.
Well, that's depends if that's actually gonna happen or so, isn't it? But that's what apparently the rumors are. That's what they're trying to sell it on, aren't they? For him to come in there. But as JP said though earlier on about like WWE protecting people, he could be protected more. And you never thought you there. Even you guys say that in WWE more than in AEW. But as you say, he fits more for AEW, of course, with the matches and stuff. But I don't know. I think it's done though. I think he will end up in AEW. Definitely.
Outside chance to the BJP? Would you take that bet?
I think I would take that bet. And I don't know whether I'm just doing this.
Oh, NXT Europe. Oh, it's not called NXT UK. That'll be different. No, it won't be the same way. It'll be a different industrial unit, and it won't be an Enfield. It'll be like somewhere nice. Though?
See,
it'll be an S&JP. That's where it'll be. Like, set it up there instead. Oh, you get to see Europe as well as the inside of an industrial estate, you know. And instead of 20 grand, you'll get 25.
Yeah, I can tell you what. If they do start up NXT UK again, they're not getting 200 million for a fucking telly show. I can tell you that. that won't be bloody well happening. Could I see him going to WWE? Yeah, because their hiring policy, exclude the performance center, we're going to get some reformed athletes and the rest of it and go with those and try and build them from scratch. They don't really play into the mix. I think it's going to be much more of a considered, is there a value to having this person? And I think because of All In, that there's going to be an element of we need a properly big UK star, like a star that they can focus shows on and around England. And Ospreay is that person they can do that with, regardless of what a lot of people would say. Yeah, we saw it at Wembley.
Yeah.
In the main, like the crowd here was chanting, singing along with his song. That tells you kind of like where he is and how he is viewed in New Japan as well. And if you think about it in terms of the injury record and everything else, if he was going to go somewhere and take the cash, and if you're looking at it and thinking, hang on a minute, like would TKO, there's a good fiscal argument for TKO to go, actually, for this one, we are going to pay a couple of million in salary, because here is a guy that we can get use out of, and we can go over and we'll do those UK tours and they can push him. Whereas now at the minute, if he currently came into AEW, he'd be part of the Don Callis family. And we've seen what kind of happens. And I think this is
wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Be much levels above that.
You know, it's that thing now of like, you look at the way that things are being booked and presented, like, where are you going to go if you are a bit more broken down and you want to make a few quid at this time in your career? And it feels very similar to me for like kind of AJ Styles. Now, if an AEW was about at that point in time, would AJ have gone there? You kind of think, actually, no, he would have. No, I've got the money here. This is the big game in town. This is the one where you get the kind of really big name and big notoriety. And they're going to want to run stadiums. They're going to do, obviously, doing Money in the Bank here again as well. Like, without trying to, pushing too far ahead. Would they want to do Roman Reigns versus Will Ospreay in London? I think they fucking would do. Like,
get me excited here, JP.
Yeah.
I don't know. That reminds me of like when Roman wrestled AJ, and AJ looked about 3 foot tall. I don't know what
then Styles clashes always make them back that reference.
Doing handstands, wasn't he?
And let's be honest, will he have got the I'm going to have a great fucking like tremendous year wrestling all these people all over the world and everything else? Where's the one place he's going to go to? And if he goes to AEW, by default, you kind of end up back in New Japan, and he'll be able to kind of call his own shots. WWE will be something that, like, as a wrestler, are you going to look at your career and say, like, what could have been? Could you have given it that chance where you could have earned big money from them to go there? Do I like the idea of it? No, I hate the idea. Sorry, Matty, of a resurgent WWE doing smart, sensible things. That's kind of where we are. And if you're him and you're looking at it, and they'd have to offer enough, like, for them to say, actually, you'd be more, if they paid him a load of money, they're not just doing it to stop you from going to AEW. There has to be this sort of fiscal responsibility because of TKO of actually this person is going to add value, and we're going to need him for lots of overseas tours and overseas promotion. And will they be able to get him onto the big telly programs? Yeah. Like, and so I think they're going to make a really big play for him. And I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, I'd be in that 50-50 camp. I don't think it's as obvious as he goes to AEW, because maybe he's scratched that itch. And where is he going to go? Is he going to be consistently pushed as this kind of like the big guy at, the main guy as much as anything else? Whereas, he goes into WWE, you've got some like big kind of matches there as well. He'll be able to tone down the ring style and kind of get away with it as well at the same time. So yeah, I've got this thing in my head where even watching this match, I thought to myself, I just get the feeling he's going to go to WWE. Could be completely wrong.
You've sold me on it, JP. I just think I'm just thinking of the Jay White thing, wherein it was, you had the rumors again, repeat myself, but that it was already done type thing. So there
was also a hiring freeze at that point in time.
True,
but they made the exception for Jade Cargill.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me think that there'll be certain people that if their deal comes up, they go, no, we'll go for them. MJF obviously would be one, if that's the case.
That's
if
weird,
he became available.
Not to derail things, but like the Wembley adverts for next year, MJF's not none of them.
Yeah.
But they're working on us here. Like,
I think he's worked himself into a shoot, Benno. MJF.
I know better. I should know better. I should know better than to buy into this. But the fact that they're giving him all these matches, aren't they? We burned through that Kenny match, and we're all like, "What the fuck? Why is that happening on a few days' notice? Why is he facing everybody right now?" Maybe, like maybe there's truth to that. I don't know. I still think quietly he signed the deal and he's not going anywhere. But imagine that. Imagine WrestleMania next year's got fucking MJF v Cody and like CM Punk v Will Ospreay
and Julia versus Charlotte Flair. Imagine it.
They can all be in play.
new roster.
World, what a world that'll be if that comes. I'd laugh at it as a story. But anyway, we quickly before we move on, because I don't know how much of the individual matches you actually want to talk about here, JV, and how much our listeners want to hear us talk about from Power Struggle. I think the main thing is the Ospreay Shota Umino match. That was incredible. If Ospreay is going anywhere else, if he's going to WWE, and we are going to get a cap on the Ospreay match, we don't have to take these matches for granted, don't we? Like if this was, it's weird because he's had such a good year where you could name. I could probably name 10 matches better than this, or 10 matches I'm going to remember more to the point when it comes to match of the year at the end of the year. But like in any other year for any other wrestler, this would be up there, wouldn't it? Like 4.5's the floor. It feels like for him, Ospreay in these big matches, and he gave Shota fucking loads. Like I bought it, hook, line, and sinker. Especially with the real life story there as well. That added so much. He leaned into the red shoe stuff as well in the match as well, which I can take or leave sometimes, but whatever. Ospreay was good at playing off that, and yeah, it was another fucking nail biting like end to the match. Like genuinely, like I thought watching it live, and again, that's the benefit of it being on at the time it was on. I was like, Ospreay's on his way out, whether it's AEW or WWE, and on the way out, they're going to give Shota this big cap. They're going to change plans. Maybe I said to you on the weekend show, JP, it's going to be Shota and Moxley. Work yourself into a shoot in that regard as well. But the match was so good that they gave you that belief. And Ospreay obviously was full of compliments for Shota Umino as well on Twitter and stuff like that. It sounds like, especially with Shota being over here quite a bit, Ospreay's worked a lot with him behind the scenes, and he's someone who's kind of helped to come along million miles away from the match we saw with these two in the UK, JP.
Yeah. Oh my god, this is the best match Shota Umino's had, like by far. I mean, I'd go 4.75 on this, and I think this will be close up there in match of the year. It's 40 minutes long. It's like a long match, but there's no sagging. There's no point where this gets kind of dull for me. It kind of held it consistently. I thought like Shota Umino like was with him every step of the way and was outstanding in this. The blood from his mouth, I thought, also really helped. It wasn't a lot, but it just gave him that bit of grit. And the crowd as well were absolutely into it. It was like because Shota Umino is almost working against this crowd, because this crowd likes Will Ospreay, but it was a very even match, and it was a thing that Chris Charlton pushed on the commentary as well afterwards about how it took him 17 minutes to beat Okada, it took him 25 to beat Yota Tsuji, it took him 35 to beat Kenny Omega, it took him 40 to beat Shota Umino as well, and then we didn't have like his kind of dad stopping it along the way as well. Like you say, he played into all of these kind of stories. But it's just like it's like a 40-minute sprint, it felt to me at times, and then really like got incredibly dramatic towards the end as well. And you saw like Shota Umino in tears at the end of it when they're kind of kneeling down to each other. Now, we've already spoken about the post-match stuff as well, but I thought that was like the fact that Moxley came out to ringside during this match as well. That really added something at a point where you wonder, is it going to be dull? Is he going to take away from? No, it just added to it. It was like, come on, like really don't give up, and shouting away at him.
He was great. He added so much.
He really did. Like, this will be in my top 10 matches of the year. And if you haven't seen it and like the length feels very daunting, and I kind of get that, I think this is well worth the watch. I mean, as far as like match quality, I don't know. There's bits of it I don't really remember necessarily from the show. It feels like a one match show. But what a match. What a fucking match to throw into the mix. Yeah, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, like I say, massive difference like to the show. It was packed. We saw him work in Manchester, wasn't it? I shouldn't do like his previous Ospreay match was very good too. That was when Ospreay was just coming back from injury as well. But we've seen him have some stinkers over here, like it was the Yota Tsuji match. It was a Manchester match as well with him. Yeah. Like we've seen the good and the bad from him. Like, he didn't come out of the pandemic looking the best Shota. Now he's looking a lot more polished and a lot more ready for like this big shove, which again made it a bit of a surprise for me that we've gone this other route with the match. But no, I thought he held his own, and yeah, it was a great one great sign for the future as far as him going forward. But yeah, was there any other matches you'd recommend, JP? Or like I say, the one for me, I think if you were wanting to cherry pick and just dive in and watch a couple of things from the show, don't skip Moxley and Great O'Khan.
That was good fun.
And as much as the results will make you go, because they did on Monday, I was reading the results, it reads badly, because it's like, oh, right, so there was a DQ after like a minute and a half, and then they just went into business for themselves and had a Moxley brawl, and guess what, Matty, Moxley bled, which is, a shocker for him. But it was fucking great. It was the most exciting of him for Great O'Khan, because it was like he was dragged into this Moxley verse, and for better or worse, it pulled something out of him. I really enjoyed that, I'd say. If you're into your Mox in Japan, it was a good entry, I'd say.
I feel as well with O'Khan, the fact that he cut part of his ponytail off suggests that we're going to be getting a kind of change post WrestleKingdom. Great O'Khan, that we're going to be getting perhaps him moving away from United Empire, which is probably going to end up dissolving itself if Will Ospreay isn't around, because kind of then what would it end up being at that stage? Like, unless you got Hanare as the leader in some sort of David Finlay style push. But yeah, I can't think of anything else necessarily from the show. But Moxley O'Khan, it was better than what it was, just because it was fucking wild. They were going fucking batshit, like smashing shit up. And I have to say as well, in this main event, there was a point where Will Ospreay got through across what felt like 10 rows of chairs by Shota, and I properly went in there. So when they went outside the ring, they went outside the fucking ring.
He learned that in the electric ballroom, didn't he? But I would say, outside of that, yeah, I thought Hiromu and Taiji Shimori was a disappointment. It was fine. It wasn't really up to much. Obviously, the setup for Wrestle Kingdom is a little bit more interesting. If Hiromu is going to constantly be on this treadmill, him and Despy always pull it out. So yeah, we've got that, and yeah, Catch 22 winning the tag league. Catch a minute of the tag league, JP. Nothing about those results you've been reading out made me feel like I needed to see it. And them against the House of Torture in a 3-star match if I've ever saw one, didn't change my mind. But yeah, pick and choose with New Japan these days, folks. I think we all know that well.
Dan Maloney is going to be on a Wrestle Kingdom card in a
title match. I've seen that,
that's wild. 6 months ago, that would have seemed fucking insane. Here we are.
Seemed the same. We were all having a drink in Grow, didn't it? In Hackneywick. But anyway, hope we had a good night. Moving on from New Japan to adjacent promotion, Rev Pro. That JP snuck into the run sheet here, and I managed to squeeze in the main events. You were in London at the weekend, weren't you, JP? Fortunately couldn't get to the 229.
I couldn't really convince. I mean, it was partly because my brother's other half has had like a knee replacement, so she couldn't there's no way I could have got her to walk up to the 229, even if I was technically at one point at the bottom of Great Portland Street. As part of me thought, I can't really do this. We were in London. Vicky has never really been in central London, so we were like kind of doing touristy stuff and like kind of walking around. It was slightly insane for it, but this was a card that you'd called an audible on the weekend show and kind of pushed in second place, partly because of what we thought was going to be the main event there in Michael Oku and Luke Jacobs. But looked like a really strong show anyway, in terms of the couple of matches that I saw. And I saw 3 matches. I haven't seen the cruiserweight title match between Connor Mills and Shaw Samuels, which seemed like a weird bit of booking. I don't know if you
didn't get great reports. Yeah, I mean it's a built-up match, so I would guess they just wanted to give it the big spot. But especially with the post-match of Oku and Jacobs, it's easy to say in hindsight, and probably should have gone last that. Especially with how good the fucking match was, which is kind of what I want to get into. But just overall, the job Rev Pro have done with these 229 shows, as nostalgic as people like you are for the cockpit, JP, the 229 shows are they feel bigger. And this, you looked at this, I thought a couple of minutes of the live stream while it was live on Sunday, and then also in watching it back today, fucking busy. They are starting to pack that place, and I think the thing that helped there was just the strength of the card. I saw, them saying on Twitter that it looked like it was almost your call. Quite standard. It wasn't quite there, but I had a couple of fly-ins and you're getting close. I think if we can keep this momentum going and keep it being a big monthly thing, we've done it a couple of times, made the trip down on a Sunday. Might be worth the day trip. Might go back to my old days, JP, of coming down to London for these little Sunday day trips and getting bladdered on the last Sunday train home, like I used to. And I used to come and see you and Joe in Camden once upon a time. But yeah, that being on the show, obviously I've not seen much of the undercard. Maybe you can talk to some of it. But yeah, Leon Slater and Trent Seven had good reports. Ricky Knight Jr.
That was good.
Sounds like it was really good as well. Obviously Robbie X is in a great position on this card as well. Just all the reports on Discord looked strong, like everyone who went. So it's very happy, and quite a few seem to be watching it on the live stream. But let's start with that. What was really ostensibly the main event, Oku and Jacobs, and the big moment, obviously at the end of that, Zack Gibson coming out as a singles. I feel like Andy Quillen's got like a board or like a doll somewhere with James Drake, or he's on a list for whatever reason. Like you go back to when the Grizzled Young Veterans were starting to get over, and he was just and everyone's like, oh yeah, they're a good little team. These, what was the team in Rev Pro? Zack Gibson and Josh Bodum instead. Drake just never has been for Rev Pro for whatever reason. So it did make me laugh when I saw the spoiler and saw that Gibson was there as a singles. But I haven't seen it now, JP. It makes all the fucking sense in the world, because everyone in the month is bringing in Grizzly Young Veterans as a tag team. OTT, Progress are doing it now. There's video packages everywhere galore for bringing them to him as in a team. Gibson's a fucking main event talent himself. You forget, there was a point where in Progress where we were all gagging for him to win the title. We all thought he was going to be the next Progress champion at one point, and him as a singles act has got loads of mileage. And I think Rev Pro are onto a winner here with doing that, with having him appear on his own and be the promotion that uses him as a top line singles guy. I think is just genius. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. I thought the angle was really well done as well with the mask and stuff. It got a great reaction for it, and great bit of business. Makes it worth flying him over, which it looks like might well have been a shoot. I think he literally came over for Rev Pro and went home again. That's what he did. He's got a fucking you got to say, you JP, two baby was born 2 weeks ago. You were on here doing 5-to-1s. He's getting on flights, coming to the 229 to shoot angles at Rev Pro. Dedication.
I don't think I would have got away with that. I think I would have struggled to kind of get that one away. Well, I'm going to London, how long? Basically 3 hours. And then I'm going home.
It's a day's work. I don't know how long the flight is these days from Florida, but they do, as a shoot, they do live out there, still. So, God bless them. I think it's worth it as well for the big main. Crystal Palace gives you a match there with him and Oku, which is, a unique big match for there too. So, yeah, big surprise for everyone to get him. And yeah, absolutely, JP. I'm with it. It was I used to be a James Drake hater. I'm not anymore. He's got a role, and he's solid as Gibson's partner. But like we talked about, plug on the 5-to-1 tag teams, there's always an A and a B in these tag teams, and Gibson is very much the A. He
is. This, again, like you've just mentioned it, I used to think of all the conversations we had about, we used to have back in the day about push Zack Gibson. Zack Gibson is your guy to go there. Your regional kind of heat and everything else. And now he's got, even that bit more of a name for some people, who would be following NXT and wouldn't be kind of necessarily too familiar with his run in the UK before he signed with them. But it was a fucking great angle. I'm really happy. It's a fresh direction. And if you think of the people who are competing in and around that top line mix, of which you put Luke Jacobs in that category as well. And obviously RKJ getting a win in a very good match against Shigehiro Irie, one of the matches that I managed to see from the show. And you think the job they're doing with Leon Slater, all of the people are kind of pushing it in and around the kind of a top line mix. You think, God, there's interesting directions. I was thinking, you could even have, if you wanted to have it, James Drake interfere or somehow get involved seconding.
To use him eventually. But make Gibson you get him first. Like that can come later, can't
Get
it?
him
When it becomes normal at the back, then use him instead. I was going to say, well, you mentioned Leon Slater there. I'm told that Leon Slater and Trent Seven might be right up your street, Matty. Apparently, Trent Seven cut some form of promo on Luchadors or something like that.
I've read that.
Some kind of open challenge. Trent Seven and Rev Pro's got Matty written all over it. It might be the thing that pulls you in, mate. We'll get you down.
It was quite funny.
December.
I think someone said on the Discord, like Mystico is going to be like the end game for that. I don't know if that's like a reach or was that right? Yeah.
Well, it could be like,
do that uprising. You'd start like, and going to Crystal Palace is something that I try to actively avoid as much as possible. Just because there is.
I remember you gave JP you saying the other month, really.
I tell you
it
what,
might just be our bubble, but I've never heard a good word about Crystal Palace. Unfortunately, like never been myself, so I can't give her a personal take. JP, maybe you can.
I mean, I'm probably haunted by trying to get to Selhurst Park, and it just being awkward as an awkward place to get to. But I haven't been here to the to the venue where they're going to be running Uprising. But do you know what? Like, if you're thinking of a way of selling tickets, Mystico would be a very good shout. But the fact that like Zack Gibson as well is a very, very good shout to throw it just into this top line mix and have him just effectively like I put the belt on him. Like that would be where I would go with this. Like you can kind of have him like almost like shocking Michael Oku now at this point. There's a month to kind of get into the mix. You know, then I don't know what other shows they're running as well. But also if you're thinking the way that Rev Pro are and they spread out and they run a lot more shows like up north and in Manchester. And I think to myself, Sheffield, Zack Gibson as your champion thrown into the mix. Zack Gibson versus Luke Jacobs in Manchester sounds fucking tremendous. But just the fact that he'll come out cutting promos about how great Liverpool is, which will obviously, you know, it sets itself up naturally. But it's just the way that they are bringing people in who they've been able to book, who they haven't had the chance to because of NXT UK for such a long time, and getting them back into the mix. And the way they're doing it as well, where they're not like the guy, they still have their guys as well, but it's just adding depth to the roster as much as anything else. And I was just really impressed with the way he cut his promo as well on him. Like it was rather more cold and considered. It wasn't going for like that kind of comedic heel stuff that he'd done like a fair bit of time. He didn't have that. It was serious, and I thought, okay, this is good. This is interesting. It's like another kind of like dimension to kind of add in there. He has the look as well. That's the other thing.
People were saying that over there live. He looked twice as big as well. I mean, he was always much bigger than the other like British talent, but like obviously with a bit of a NXT season and having been in America all that time, of course, he's put a bit of bulk on as well. No, I thought the promo was incredible. Like genuinely, like talking about like Oku, you know, you're the champion now type of thing, which works for other champions. That wouldn't work, but Oku's such a good underdog that it's perfect. For me, feels more challenger of the month, but like it says something of the job like Rev Pro are doing right now, because like the amount of like it was almost conspiracy theory level. People were looking at this 229 card going like, are they gonna have Luke beat Oku here so that it can be Luke versus Ishii for the title or Uprising? Like it felt like something was up and people were buying into it. Like the old work's the new work, because in that match, like honest to God, like I was watching it removed from it like only a couple of hours ago before that we started this show, while I was having me dinner going, fucking hell, like I would buy hook, line and sinker that Luke is winning here, because everyone in that building felt like they were buying it. It was one of those great and again, massive compliment, because it wasn't even a last, because so that maybe that would have, you know, people thought about it, that might be the tip that okay, maybe the title's not going to change here after all. But like in the moment you could feel people as like Luke kind of piled on finisher after finisher. And when there'd be a big kick out, you think, okay, there's a big kick out. Oku's going to come back and he's going to pull it out. No, you get another big move from Luke and then a move on top of it. And it really felt like they were piling it on where this big, like you could see people in the front row, the 229 on their edge of the chair, thinking they were about to explode because Luke was going to win the title. That's hard to do, like in today's wrestling. And like the match wasn't perfect. There were a couple of awkward moments, like that weird, like Rana, where they were going to go through the chairs, and it felt like Luke stopped. Like, unlike Will Ospreay, he was like, I'm not sure I'm going to take this bump. And then eventually he took it. And then obviously the finish felt a little bit off too. It felt like something maybe went wrong there, because it looked like Oku got busted open and they maybe called an audible with the roll up. But I almost think it added to it, because it was like, that's the type of champion Oku is. Like, he was withstanding this storm of offense from Luke. You talk about stories between the bell, Matt. Like, this was a story between the bell, where it was like, this is this champion who's getting it from all sides. He's like a fighting champion who's constantly like coming close to losing the belt, but like somehow out of it, like pulls a small package and gets a win, like against the run of play where like Luke was dominating him. And I've got it. Like, I was thinking about like loving it, because like Luke's got that big match coming up with Ishii. He loses nothing from losing here, and he's protected because he looked like such a killer in the match. Oku has more sympathy on him because of the way he lost and because of what looked like a real-life injury coming out of it. It couldn't have landed more perfect for them. And then obviously Zack Gibson comes out afterwards, and you've got that sleight of hand, really, where that's what people are thinking about. And Luke's loss kind of gets forgotten a little bit, but it just adds to that story of, oh, here's another big challenger for Oku. Is he going to be able to hold on to the belt? It's basic, simple storytelling, but it's storytelling, and it's, really good stuff. It's a great match.
That's just you sold that to me there, Ben. I want to go and watch it now. I do want to go and watch it.
Definitely. I didn't see the Conor Mills Shah Samuels match, which you would have thought there would have been.
There weren't great reports on it, unfortunately.
Nah.
It had the tough
an angle at the beginning with Shah Samuels, like a weigh-in and stuff like that, to see if he'd made it. So would have thought, and the fact it was on last, it was just like, it just felt like a very odd to see. If something happened backstage or something like that, somebody was running late or something along those lines. But yeah, that's
Gibson had a flight to catch. Maybe it was that.
Yeah. So maybe that was the case. But it was belting, and it's also, again, it sold me on the idea of going to these 229 shows, and it's hey, it's British wrestling doing stuff well.
Any other thoughts on the rest of the card, JP? Anything else notable from it?
Of the things I saw, Ricky Knight Jr. versus Shigeru Irie was very good, and Ricky Knight Jr. looks in good shape, and it looks like they're building. The fact they gave him a win, and he was WXW champion Irie not that long ago, so it makes you think, oh, okay, like, you know, they're doing stuff with him again. And I like the idea of him being this kind of wild card around the top line mix. I think it just makes it, just keeping him hot, but we don't know what direction he's going in from that kind of like storyline perspective. I like that. And he's in the Great British Tag League with the brother as well. So with Zack. And then I did see the Leon Slater Trent Seven match, which was cracking as well. And yeah, it was, again, really great base. You'd have loved that, Matty. It was a cracking base, was Trent Seven. But Leon Slater has that you can see why Impact signed him, TNA even. Like, he has, like, he's fresh. He's a fresh face, and he's able to do some really cool shit. Like, he does his dive over the top, and it's like, it's tremendous as well. And this Trent Seven's been good fun. He's been good value in this Rev Pro run. They've booked him exactly the way they should be, just without the Enfield No More name. I would have loved it again, be the cherry on top.
Well, this lucha thing, I'm kind of enjoying it. I like the I don't know what the end game is, but like, it's, you know, like, Matty, you love the match, obviously, at the Copper Box.
Oh,
like, very ECW 90s, wasn't it, for you as well? Like, I can see the argument. So I know people are pushing back on it because it's Trent Seven, and it is a bit NXT UK, but the elements they're leading into, like you said, JP, the Enfield No More stuff, and now this wanting to be known as the greatest luchador on the planet stuff, it's kind of up my street a little bit, so I can definitely be forgiven of that. But yeah, there you go, good things going on at Rev Pro. I'm sure we'll meet it at a 229 sometime soon, JP. But yeah, what else have you been watching this week?
Well, it's not the only British wrestling I've been watching as well.
I don't believe you.
I watch.
Go on.
You don't believe me.
Been waiting for this,
and it's something partly because, I mean, I have to say, full disclosure. I mean, like, the people who run Pro Wrestling Chaos, it was just like, you know, we've got this show out there for our 10-year anniversary, 10 years of chaos. They're based.
Oh, you didn't tell us this. Okay,
Bristol,
this is news. He's been bought here, Matty. He's bought Genos.
If if I was bought, mate, I wouldn't be fucking admitting it on a show. Like, I'd say that far.
I mean, your
Like,
price is cheap, to be fair, at a stream.
It is.
Stream login. Did you share this?
No, it's free on YouTube. That's the point.
Okay, fair enough.
Didn't have to pay anything for this. It's free on YouTube as well. And it was watching. It was headlined by Brendan White and Flash Morgan Webster in a loser leaves chaos match as well. And again, I kind of thought of Matty when watching this show because it's very, very storyline driven. And again, like there was things about, I suppose, from a production perspective, it's quite strange, like in terms of the camera work. They got Dave Bradshaw on commentary as well. I didn't catch the other fella's name on there, but it is very dark because of where they are in Yate as much as anything else. But as a kind of fun,
Matt.
Never
near Bristol. Oh, he's never out. He's never away from the place. Fucking loves it.
You're on fun.
I want to say it's Yate. I'll get it up on here. It was, it's the Yate Leisure Centre on there. And they had a good crowd, but everything is kind of built up like storyline wise. So you had Joseph Connor defending his King of Chaos title, which as a dickhead heel in like a British independent promotion, he's kind of fine. Like that's the kind of role for him. He was in there against Jay Joshua. They had a match. It was again fine. I think that the best of the matches was the main event because it was the one that had the kind of most storyline to it, and it had a video package beforehand as well, which is something we don't see a lot of the promotions. We praise Rev Pro. We don't often see them. They've only really recently started doing that kind of stuff before their kind of really big shows. And here they had like a video explaining the kind of history between Brendan White and Flash Morgan Webster. But to go back to Joseph Connors, we then had Charlie Sterling cash in. They had two halves of a briefcase. I don't know if that was cut up. I missed that bit.
Sounds like a good storyline, JP.
And he won in 30 odd seconds. And I like Charlie Sterling. But then he ended up defending that title in the next match against Big Damo in a match I wasn't as keen on because it felt like that had dragged on a bit there as well. And a Maiden of Chaos strap match with Livy Grace, who obviously has improved since we saw her at that first Birmingham show against Alexis Falcon, who I want to say she from Liverpool, or did I just kind of like?
She lives here. She's based here. She's not from.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And Harrison Bennett, who I think we saw on Rev Pro as well. He won like a really like flippy-doo four-way for the Chaos Cup on there. And you even had Martin Kirby on the card, like, teaming with Will Cruz for Project Cruz. I would have thought you'd have loved this kind of shit on there.
You sure this was from 2023? Have we gone back in time? Is this a British Wrestling Spotlight episode from 2017?
It feels that way, doesn't it?
Get all the legends in.
Very true.
Well, they did. Then Dave Mercy, who was one of the like co-founders of, I don't know who Dave Mercy was at all for this, but he was referee in the Loser Leaves Chaos match, which was half an hour. It went outside, went all over the fucking shop as well. Flash Morgan Webster won. And it was as a card to watch. I kind of thought to myself, because it's not that far, would I go and see them? Yeah. I think at some point in the future, if that's the aim, ultimately, could I have a fun time watching this show? Yeah. Are they pushing the people who are their people? So people like Danny Jones, for example, mean like kind of like a lot more. Is there a level to a lot of the work? Obviously. Like there's a lot of stuff on here. But I can't say it was like, it's not like it was worse than Crown Jewel, for crying out loud. Yeah, Flynn Burden apparently is the other commentator in there, according to Ewan in the chat. But it's doing stuff it's doing the kind of simple stuff well, where it's just doing simple storylines. You've got your clear heel stable in like Severance, headlined by Joseph Connors, who's gonna get booed. It's an easy person to boo, and you've got your clear like faces within the promotion as well. And it's an area that's not particularly well served, is it, with wrestling companies? So you kind of think, oh, okay, because I don't know how much Attack ever run anymore. And it feels like this is the kind of promotion that can end up taking over from them. I watched this. It was perfectly fine. It was good. It was a decent level of wrestling. I kind of thought to myself, it would have been handy if it was a bit lighter watching it on the stream. Did I generally enjoy it? Yeah. Would I be more interested in seeing it live than perhaps on VOD? Possibly. Like, I think that's one of the things as a live promotion to be a bit more to it. Is there some talent around there? Yes. And we're starting to see them. And it's interesting seeing people like Will Cruz working down here that little bit more as well. There's a few people who do get kind of pushed around the place. So yeah, just wanted to give that a mention as much as anything else. And it's on YouTube. It's free. If you just go to the Pro Wrestling Chaos YouTube page, it's on there.
I'm resisting the urge to close the segment with a Martin Bushby impression. I haven't had enough drinks. But anyway, there you go. There's your Brit section for the week. Anyway, hey, big Flash Morgan Webster fans on this podcast, aren't we, Matty? You know, but
we are.
Good to not see him on the Impact UK tour. You have to come with me next time when they come back. Love a bit of Andrews and Webster.
Yeah, I will say when I seen their matches from this year, just blew me mind just how smooth they were. But yeah, we'll. I think we're going to a few shows the next year, boys. By the sounds of it,
it's back, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
We're going all over the country.
It's good to hear.
Newcastle included, which goes to the Discord. If you know what I'm talking about there, might see a few of us at North Wrestling coming up next month as well. December the 9th is it the Saturday show? They've got the Grizzly Young Vets announced for that one as well. There's a daytime seminar going on, but nobody put my name down. I've resisted the urge. But the actual show itself should be good. And yeah, we're gonna have a night out round Newcastle too. It should be. But we'll have a night out round Newcastle too. So
I'll give you a few hit tosses and scoop slams if you want, Benno. Free of charge.
We'll talk to the good people at North on the December the 9th and see if they'll let us in the ring. But yeah, there you go. We're going to be all over. The good times are back. Is basically the lesson of this segment. Outside of that, anything else you've watched, lads? Anything else you want to throw in? I think that's kind of it, really, isn't it? I saw 15 minutes of Raw. We've already talked to these. I don't really have much to say on that. I
did kind of watch, and again, I was squeezing it in, so I can't say, give it. And it's not like a massively great match, I don't think, but Katsuhiko Nakajima is the All Japan Triple Crown champion. Sort of squashes Yuma Aoyagi in many ways. And I know we were talking about the match with Kenta Miyahara last week. Wins very decisively. He does one of those sitting on the chest jobs at the end in order to win it after another kind of a spike suplex, like a brain buster type. Yeah. So they're going all in on him straight away. I imagine he'll lose it to Kenta Miyahara at their big show in January. And then they'll go back to Kento Yuma Aoyagi.
I've been keeping it quiet, but I did actually watch that because JP had put it on the run sheet. But I've got less to say about it than JP. A match happened, but I do find the Nakajima stuff really interesting. I'm interested where he's going, what they're doing, and that. Yeah, obviously, immediately strapping him up is interesting, isn't it? But as a match, it was
do you know who?
Not that great. I got 3.5.
High quality video more than anything. I thought it felt like watching an indie show from the early 2000s with Japanese commentary. It didn't hold me attention. It wouldn't be something I'd mention if you hadn't brought it up. To be honest, I'd just pretend I hadn't seen it next time.
JP, have you seen who Gunther's next challenger is? A Survivor Series.
I have, mate.
Oh, shit! I thought you hadn't seen.
Who is it? Logan Paul.
No, Gunther be the Miz, Benno, the big one.
Oh, babyface Miz. Yeah, take back any compliments I gave to WWE earlier.
Work rate Miz doing springboard planches and bloody tornado DDTs. Everyone's fuming on Twitter. Everyone is fuming.
This is a test. This is a test. How good is he really? Yeah,
it really, really is. No, to be fair.
I King of Soft Style getting some of those chops. That'd be good. I
can't picture it.
I saw somebody did a gif of that Miz spot with the head scissor takeover, and they sped it up to
sped it up, yeah, speed. Classic.
Like me watching ICW back in the BW days just to get through it. It made it look like he was quite athletic, to be fair. But I was going to say, news-wise, we've kind of covered everything. We talked about Julia. We got that in there. I had Moxley and Sami Callihan teaming up against the Rascals at Revolver coming up, I wanted to mention, just because it's interesting that I don't think Mox has got his mate in. If he's going out to Revolver to work. I think that's the show with Ronda on as well, isn't it? Then I think that tells you that maybe that's not going to be happening inside of AEW. Yeah, that's the one with Ronda and Marina Shafir against Billy Starks and Athena apparently is going on over at Revolver. So there you go. That's one for you, Matty. If you have more spare time, back
that'll be my
in the heavy days of 2018.
That would be my promotion, definitely.
You'd be right into it. But the other news story we didn't get a chance to cover, thought I'd just throw in at the end. Iron Claw has got a confirmed UK release date. Maybe this can be our finally story. Apparently, it's as always happens. JP, we get screwed over with Oscar season. February the 9th. It's not coming out till in the UK. It's quite the US release is still in December. So apparently we're waiting until February unless Uncle JP can sort us out. But
don't you worry about that.
February Film Club showing up, but they did say actually that what's the youngest one Eric called who's not in it?
Chris.
Chris, that's it, Chris. Like the director came out and said that apparently it was just he wants to keep the film to a manageable length, so they deleted his character. It was like, you know what? It's kind of mean because that's such a sad story, but I get it. you know, when a Hollywood director's like, you know what, lads, we've got enough here. We've got enough tragedy. We don't need to add another one. Oh, and by the way, the youngest son died too. Let's leave that story out. So at least we got an explanation on why there's only 4 of them. But yeah, still excited
the
for
story,
it.
Benno. The other new story about this, where they said they're open to doing matches, and I see someone imagine Zack Efron v Chris Jericho, because apparently they're up for working matches, aren't they?
Always happens, doesn't it? But that's the thing. They'll have done legitimately. They'll have done the training. They'll have done the
I think AEW will get them in.
Work matches. Like, I get it. If I was them, I'd be like, yeah, I'd love to do it properly. I bet you're all.
I have the bloke from the Bear.
Yeah, right. Even if Zac Efron's only willing to be like on the outside, like you make that deal, absolutely
easily.
Money out. It's like what we saw with the wrestler, isn't it? There's a small window there to make that happen.
Turn up at World's End. That's where they'll turn up. Do
you think the
Long Island? MJF's
that was always
isn't it?
Yeah, there you go.
That was always the argument after the wrestler, wasn't it? That like it was like, oh, you know, they might lose the Oscar votes if if we have them doing this actual wrestling thing. Do you reckon it's as much of a deal now, JP? I think they can get away with it.
The release date always tells you if they're squeezing it in as a distributor before Christmas. Effectively, that's always to get into awards season. It's a bit more all over the place, the Oscars and whatnot. But I think there is an expectation. And the fact that A24 is this kind of like it's a hot distributor, isn't it? And it has been for quite a while. So like they've kind of got that clout that say a Miramax used to have back in the day when it comes to like kind of award season. So I'm cautiously optimistic about where it's going to go, partly because they've got like it's a Zac Efron career revival it's been on the cards for a while. I say career revival, but like that kind of big proper push. Like, and this feels like this could easily end up being in the mix. And yeah, could be. I really do think it could be I really do think it could be really good.
I hope it's good.
Just it's for me the test is how much Von Erich bullshit has worked its way into the story. That's it. If we go to Japan and David's I've got a dicky stomach, I'm off to bed, I'll be like, oh fuck, here we go. We don't have Bruiser Brody flushing shit down the toilet. That's the kind of stuff we want to see.
That's the proper film. Well, there we go. That's our final story. So yeah, go for it, folks. There we go. Another spotlight in the can. If you want more where that came from, pre-show is available to patrons. Like I say, we did spend probably about 40 minutes going through JP's 5-to-1s to add on to the 5-to-1 episode that is also available. No, it's good stuff for patrons. Probably should say for video viewers, that's where you get the explanation for what on earth JP's background is. I'm realizing
D'Artagnan and the Three Musket Hounds.
Why is JP with a load of dogs?
go to Patreon. But I also, as I've said with my Bluey love, give me the idea of we're going to take a story and we're just going to put them in dog form in order to kind of replicate it. I love that shit. I'm a sucker for that.
Makes everything better. Anything to plug, lads? Matty, anything you want to throw out? I believe there is.
Yeah, no, just coming up this month is the debut episode of Retro, not Sean's Row, Benno, Retro, with
Fun
me
show.
and Gareth. With me and Gareth. So we're obviously looking to get that recorded in the next couple of weeks, and I've got all my notes down and I'm taking it very seriously, Benno. Once again, your position as host is not under threat, but I'm taking it very seriously.
Yeah, you're leading it, man.
Yeah, I am leading it. Yeah, but I'm leading it. But Gareth will be 80% of the speaking and the voice that you'll hear. So, yeah, really looking forward to it. I'm just excited, nervous, all rolled up into one. But hopefully everyone will like the finished product when we get it done. So, yeah, that's coming up this month.
Brilliant. Look forward to that, folks. Other than that, everything else going on the Patreon, JP, and it's plug.
Patreon.com/grapple and YouTube as well. Go to the YouTube page, youtube.com/grapple as well. At grapple. Apologies. That's
YouTube's
the
weird.
thing always fools me. I know it is weird like that, isn't it?
Doesn't get you there, unfortunately. Yeah.
It's also why I'm absolutely terrified to have played any of the songs at the beginning when doing the 5-1 theme tune. Yeah, I would just highly recommend just second that 5-1, if only for Gareth in that first half an hour.
And our poll this week, isn't it, JP?
Our poll, and to give you an update on that as well, it's still the same leaders.
I think that'll walk it. I think that'll easily win. Yeah.
Come on, Shotgun Saturday Night fans, come out in full.
Yeah, come on, let's give it the push.
I'll do any of them. They all sound good, though. It's unlike what happened to us.
Yeah,
we'll let it go. But there you go. Yeah, get your votes in, folks. But yeah, other than that, thank you, everyone who's tuned in live with us this week. Thank you to everyone watching on the replay, and of course, thank you to our patrons, specifically Kings of the Mountain, Carl Gack, who you might be hearing from next week, Rob Brocky, Conor Laughlin, Eddie Sarbanes, Chris Platt, Simon Gunn, and Sam Mulvaney, who you'll definitely be hearing from next week. And thank you, folks, for tuning in. Have a good week, and we'll catch you again next week for another Spotlight.
Bye.
See you later.
Children of the sun, see your time has just begun. Searching for your ways through adventures every day and night. With the condor in flight, with all your friends in tow, you search for the cities of gold. Wishing for the cities of gold. Someday we will find the cities of gold.
Cities of gold. Oh.